Hello and welcome to Talkin Athletics with MTJ. I'm your host, Mike Papa. I'm joined by the other two-thirds, I should say, of the illustrious trio that makes up MTJ, Joe and Tom. And we're going to get things started today with talking about some Thursday night football that took place between the Cleveland Browns and the New York Jets. And let me tell you what, Joe Flacco is him. Joe Flacco is back, and Joe Flacco might just win a Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, that hat matches really well with that hoodie. I like it.
Thank you.
No problem.
Good coordination.
You know, let's go with that. You did it on purpose.
Absolutely.
Let's go with that.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
I like
He
that
did it
take,
on
though.
purpose.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
He could win a Super Bowl.
It could happen. Don't get me wrong. They have the defense to do it, and
Wow, just like the Ravens when he won the Super Bowl.
you want to know what this team reminds me of? It reminds me a lot of the Giants that shocked the Patriots in one of those Super Bowls, where it's really good defense and it's super manager, except Joe's doing a lot more than he ever did, and I shouldn't say ever did. He had some big games back in Baltimore.
He was a Pro Bowler.
And he won Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
He's exceeded anything he's done in the past 6 years, probably.
yeah.
Okay.
He's when was he a Pro Bowler in Baltimore? Like, Lamar's been in Baltimore for
Probably like 2012, 2013, 14
yeah. So like
area.
we're talking.
Let's look it up.
10
I'll look it
years
up. You
ago?
can keep
I
going. I'll
was
look
gonna
it
say,
up.
I've got his stats up already. I don't have the years yet.
Joe Flacco.
He left Baltimore in 2018 is when he left Baltimore. And he passed for 2,400 yards that year, so I'm assuming that's a full year. So 2018 is when he
I
left
take that
Baltimore.
back. He's actually never been to a Pro Bowl.
He's never been to a Pro
Really?
Bowl?
Has the most career passing yards and touchdowns
I'll put him up there
any
for it this
quarterback
year.
who's never
Yeah,
been to a Pro
jeez.
Bowl.
I was gonna,
He was invited to the 2015 Pro Bowl following the
Declined it.
2014 season, but declined it. Yeah, so
what
he
about
would have been
all
to
pros. That's maybe
Yeah,
we
we'll
should
go
talk
all
about that
pros.
another day. I think that should be put in the idea bank for another day.
Okay.
I do have a gripe about all pros and Pro Bowlers, like just the distinctions and how the NFL does it. I really don't love.
Okay.
And what do you constitute a resume, I guess? Like, if a guy goes to Super Bowls now, he can't go to Pro Bowls. So, like, is that taking away from his Super Bowl resume now if you go to Super Bowls, but you're not?
Another time, like you said. Another
Exactly.
Time.
Like,
Talk about
we
Joe
got
Flacco
a lot
right
to
now.
get through today. But I think Joe Flacco,
Is he that guy? Is he
right
elite?
now, he is.
Is he elite?
We
You
talked
know what
recently.
he is? A lot more of that guy than Deshaun Watson. He's
Ooh.
getting paid a heck of a lot of money.
$230 million guaranteed? Or $220?
I mean, he could be that guy. It's crazy what he's doing these last few weeks, especially without Nick Chubb, and then doing it on little
but
practice time with the team, obviously.
Nick Chubb's more of an actual running back. He isn't really known for catching balls. I mean,
Yeah,
he's
but
got a pretty strong wide
if you
receiver
can
core and
give
tight
me-
end.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, if you are missing a guy who can get you 4.5 yards a carry,
Why
that's
was-
going to make it harder for anybody.
But why wasn't Njoku doing what he's doing now with Deshaun?
Dude,
like, that's Mike. Like, why everybody's stats are up across the board? Like,
I've had Njoku for the last few years in my dynasty league,
really
and when the
good.
guy gets targeted, he's phenomenal.
Very good, yep.
But he doesn't get targeted a lot, and it's really sad. And I thought when they added, this is a great point, because I thought when they added Deshaun Watson, his numbers would only increase.
I
Because
agreed.
normally, especially when you're new to a system and you're a quarterback, you more rely on the tight ends.
And that the system seems like it's built for a tight end because you can come up and you can fake that block. Everybody's believing
Yeah, and Chubb.
Chubb or not Chubb now, obviously. What's
Ford.
his name? Ford. But what's the other one?
Kareem
They
Hunt.
brought him back. Yeah.
Well,
Kareem.
Ford
Yeah,
is-
but like it's still a run-based offense even with Flacco in there now, and it does remind me a lot of Baltimore. But
Yeah.
the run game isn't. They don't have Chubb. With
Right.
Chubb, it would be, cut and paste what they did in Baltimore.
mean-
but I think he's carrying a little bit more
Isn't
of
he
the load.
like 38 years old, too? Which
Joe
is-
Flacco?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, he's old as dirt.
Age like fine wine, brother. Fine wine. He is playing great ball right now. You can't. He's making the right reads and giving.
Well,
I mean,
he
Cooper,
is
he's
throwing
making
a lot of picks, though.
He only threw one.
Well,
But yes,
I'm saying for when he's
previously.
become a starter, he has like 7 picks.
I mean, they kind of split
With
back
that
last
defense-
game with Ford and Hunt. Ford had 12, Hunt had 10.
And-
But yeah,
I'm trying to remember when was his pick because I don't remember it. Was it like a situational?
The pick
like,
6.
I didn't watch. I was watching
the
the Celtics game and then the Warriors game.
My hope was that it was going to be a situationally
No, it was
good
a pick
like where it
six.
was
So
like
he
a punt
kinda,
pick,
like,
but
tried to-
I was like, he's a vet, he's being smart about it. But nope.
Nope.
Joe says
No, it was a
otherwise,
pick
so
6.
I don't recall, so I can't argue.
Yeah, like I said, that's the only thing with Flacco right now is he's throwing a lot of picks, which, I mean, hey, Flacco's just kind of
He does have 8 picks.
becoming.
Yeah.
He does have 8. That's yikes.
I thought 7, so my bad. I guess
Yeah,
it was 7
no,
before
you're
last
good.
night.
Yeah.
Well, he had 3 against Chicago, 2 against Houston. Yeah, I don't know if he's played a game this season without a pick, actually.
Yeah, but here's the thing. I think right now he's just letting it loose and just throwing it down the field, and I think Cleveland could be very dangerous in the playoffs because if he stops throwing picks and continues to gunsling like this, I mean, really, they could beat anyone.
Yeah,
I don't even think you need him to stop throwing picks, like just to be
More
counterintuitive.
smart of picks, like make sure they're
no
down the
pick
field.
6, and if they're down the field, almost not
A
third
punt,
and long,
kind
but
of like
not even that. Like you can be taking a slant even, and if some guy jumps it and you get him down right away, that defense is playing.
just hold him to a field goal and just, hey, get back out there, Joe, and throw it again.
Odds are, dude, with the weapons that they have and the way Joe is seeming to utilize them, and maybe it is. I almost feel like they're trying to simplify things with Joe in there and the backup.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's kind of the same thing with the Giants, where we saw a little bit of, and maybe it's just a change of the playbook a little
Well,
bit,
I
where
think
things
I
are
don't know
altered
if
a
they.
bit.
How much are you gonna alter the playbook when you don't?
Deshaun
really,
Watson to Joe Flacco, those are two
Very
very different
different.
quarterbacks.
But
Like,
Joe
what I'm
Flacco is
saying
a pocket.
No, you
person.
yeah, but
You're
you
not
said
running any
you
read
said
option now?
You said simplify the offense. I don't think you're simplifying the offense at that point simply because how much harder was it? Deshaun Watson was playing terrible and has not been playing good his entire tenure. That I'm imagining that playbook is pretty simple right now. But even before he goes out, you know what I mean? Like it's
Right.
not like he was going out
I
here
agree.
just running and like
and that's
just
where maybe
scrambling
it
and
is
the
more
offense
just
was
the
relying on
concepts
him.
have to change because you're not running a
Read
read
option.
option with
Yeah,
Joe Flacco.
you're just gonna
You know
run.
what I mean?
I think
Like,
you're running like a couple plays less, but I think the whole objective of the offense is still to produce.
it is
around
run.
the
It's
same.
right. It's hey,
Yeah.
offense, get us in a good
And maybe
good
a little
spot.
more protection every
Because
once
it's
in a
not
while.
like not like Deshaun Watson was carrying the team before. The offense wasn't built around him.
No, but I mean I feel like they look a lot better with Flacco in there for
Oh,
some
absolutely,
reason. Like
absolutely.
and that's
'Cause
just
Deshaun
so
Watson
weird
just
to
isn't
say.
good.
It's so weird to say though, like verbal, like, and I can't say he's not
Well,
good.
we were
I don't know
just-
what it is.
We were talking about Joe Flacco just 2 weeks ago. We were talking about Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco, and I said, Joe
That's
Flacco
true.
still
We
has
both said
an
we'd take
arm.
Flacco.
Yes,
We
he
both said
still
Flacco's
has
the
an
dude.
arm.
We're talking about Flacco or Deshaun Watson, but are we talking about the wrong person? Do we now have a case for Coach of the Year with Kevin Stefanski?
Yes, I know
I-
last week we were kind
I
of,
think you
this
have
is
to.
up for debate, because we all were looking at the 49ers head coach. But after this weekend,
Tomlin won it last year, right? I'm trying to think of other candidates too.
No,
Because
Tomlin didn't win
I'm
last year.
agreeing
I
with you.
thought
I think you're right
Dable
on
won
there.
it last-
Yeah.
Oh no, you're right, Dable.
geez, your own team, Tom. Come on.
I expected more out of him.
Yeah, everyone did.
We got to the playoff and won a playoff game
But
last year with that garbage
I
team.
think
God,
Kevin Stefanski deserves it. This is his 4th quarterback.
Yeah, that's
Fourth
what I was going to
quarterback.
say. And your first quarter, it's not like your first quarterback got you off to a hot start and then got injured. No, your first quarterback may not even be the best quarterback you played this year.
Yeah, because then it went, P.J. Walker, and then
PJ Walker, Flacco.
DTR, then Flacco.
Oh, you're talking about order, yeah.
Yeah.
that's where I'm gonna see. Like, I can't. I feel like there's got to be one. Have they been blown out this year?
Who, the Browns?
That's what I'm saying. Like, even with 4 quarterbacks, I don't know if they've ever
don't-
been like run out of
Well,
a
like
game.
I said, that defense
I'm pretty
is
sure the
really
Steelers
good.
licked them up. I don't.
Let me see. It's a weird year.
But
Where
that-
it's like
but-
I've seen the Steelers look like hot garbage.
But
And it's
that-
like it would make sense for them to rough them up. They're playing them twice. And
Interdivision, yeah, I would say divisional
Yeah,
games.
those are
are
always
always
different.
Yeah, they're
Yeah,
always a
yeah.
toss, especially when it's games like that, like the
Steelers beat them by 4.
Cleveland
Oh,
and the
that's not
Steelers.
bad then. Only 4.
Ravens beat them 28-3 week 2 or 3. 4? 4. I lied.
Okay,
I don't
okay.
like Google because when you scroll around, I feel like the dates flip flop
Right.
every now and again.
But yeah, I mean, for Stefanski, you're missing your quarterback. You're missing
Running
your
back.
running back. You've been beat up in other
I think offensive line.
positions throughout the year. You're on your 4th quarterback, but I mean, let's be honest. There's been over 51 starters this season for quarterbacks. So most teams have dealt with issues at quarterbacks at least one point. but
they're probably the most with 4.
Yeah, they haven't dealt with an issue. They have dealt with a part of their game. Like, if that wasn't a good example of what I was trying to say. It has become a part of their game to have a quarterback issue throughout the year. It hasn't like they didn't have to deal with it for a couple of weeks and then, okay, we made it through the stretch. Now let's get back on on task. It's more like, okay, we need someone to fill this guy. Okay, we need somebody to fill that guy.
We need someone to fill that guy.
And then now you've got Joe Flacco who's been playing relatively well.
I feel like we're sleeping on Baker.
Not relatively well. He's been well.
Bigger.
Oh, brother, I do not sleep on that man.
You can't now.
I love him.
He's got Baker. He's got.
We were talking about the head coach though.
Well, but that's where we were talking about them. Being used to having the quarterback replacement issues, and that.
I meant
Baker
this
year specifically. Yeah. No, that's where I agree with you. I was maybe just misinterpreting, and usually when I listen to it back, that's exactly what happened. So I was just checking to see.
The Browns have had 4 different quarterbacks this year.
Yeah, and that's where I was checking to see who's in it. They did lose badly in 2 of their other losses.
Well, yeah, I mean,
to the
one
Rams.
of them's PJ Tucker, man. Like, you can't expect too much.
The Rams,
or PJ Walker. I mean,
yeah, the Rams was Flacco though, and that was 19-36. So I mean, and I don't know, they could have scored late. I think they did score late to make it look worse than it actually was. And then the Broncos game, that one was Dorian Thompson-Robinson. That was DTR.
Yep.
And I do like him. I think he's a really good athlete, and it doesn't look like he had a terrible stat line. But
12-29
isn't a close game either.
Too, like you said earlier.
True. Yeah. No. This is a lot.
I mean,
you lost your 2 biggest pieces.
Literally. Your biggest contracts on that team.
What other coaches around the league do you think would deserve to be in conversation? And then we can compare.
Well, the Steelers coach, if you guys could make the playoffs, just because things have been so the biggest of dumpster fires, it looks like at times. And then if you could find a way to even stay above 500 again, like he's a wizard how he does that.
Yeah, but I don't think you should give.
I agree. How many times can you give him the award for doing what he's done continuously over and over again?
Not even that. But I'm just saying I don't know if I'd be comfortable giving it to a coach that somehow got a poor roster into the playoffs, opposed to I think there's other coaches even over Mike Tomlin who I think Sean McVay would deserve it over Tomlin.
How about Kyle Shanahan? We
just
mentioned last week. We're like, this is a debate. It's
I was making the adjustment right there to just transition into that debate because I feel like that's where it's got to go. Is
I know you
with
said,
all of the credit, and I'll bring it up.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel.
Mike McDaniel could be a good one. Especially winning that division, that was going to be a tough division. But when you, I feel like with all of the credit that we give to Cleveland? The system and the system that's designed for Brock Purdy, and that's the reason he isn't the guy. How can you say? Now? Well, that's what I'm saying. I feel like that's the easy transition if you're going to ask that question. Is how do you not give him the Coach of the Year award when it's got to be one or the other, right? Because something's working. Except for last week here, obviously.
Yeah.
So one of the 2 of them, they're clearly the best offense. We said last week, excluding their game against the Ravens, looking past that, we all said that they were our probably top team in the NFC, right? Coming out at them and the Eagles.
Talking about the 49ers?
Yes.
Yeah. I thought they were the best team in the league.
And so the Ravens game was a shock. I'm sure we'll cover that here in a second. Yeah. We'll get on to how I look like an ass. But I just think it's got to be one or the other where this offense is like looking year game to game because the Ravens have put up some stinkers as well. And they're, I would say, probably the second best or maybe the Cowboys. And they've put up some stinker games, where it's.
For the overall
You're
league.
Losing me.
Well, yeah, because the Ravens are in the AFC.
You just keep going from team to team now.
Well,
so
I'm
really
just
confused.
I'm trying to figure out the good comparison of if you're looking at teams just having a dud week and looking at the best other offenses out there, I would still say they're probably the best offense, the 49ers.
Okay.
Looking at it comparatively, if you're going to compare them to any other offense.
As a total year, how they've been throughout the whole year, you mean?
Yes, and looking at what that offense is on paper and what it can do in that system that they have designed, I feel like is the best that you would see on paper, the most feared probably going into any game.
But I also think their team as a whole is
stacked.
Yes. They should be
That's
a
what
top
I meant
2,
by
top,
on paper too.
Yeah, they should be a top 2, top 3 team.
Which they are.
I'm going to use the same argument for Shanahan than I used against Brock Purdy.
Okay, so it's
you know what I mean? Like,
it's
I think
that
it's
you
more
have all of the pieces. Like, good for you for putting them together.
Yeah, good
kind
for
of
you.
like
Yeah,
Well, 'cause
I think
look
it's
at
more
what
impressive what the
Stefanski's
Browns
doing.
have done.
Yeah.
GM of the year. Like they have.
Yes,
you have to give them something, right?
GM of the year, absolutely.
That's really what. And maybe I'll just play this part at double speed when I was trying to ramble on, because this is the end clip here. Somebody in the organization is doing something correct
Yes.
The 49ers,
and deserves
yes.
an award
Yes.
for it. If you want to give it to Brock, you got to give it to Shanahan. If it's not Shanahan, you got to go further up the ladder because
Yeah.
somebody's doing something right. That's what I was
I
trying to
agree
get
with
to
Mikey
essentially.
here. It's the GM.
Yeah,
But
I
the head
agree.
coach
And the
for
puzzle
the
pieces are
Browns just
it's
Agreed.
able
Agreed.
to
It's
manage
Stefanski
the
doing more
hell
with
out of
way
this.
less.
If
Yeah.
Stefanski wasn't doing what he's doing this year with the Browns, I would say Shanahan without a doubt.
Yeah.
Agree. Oh, that's fair.
I mean, again, we always
'Cause
talk
he's
about
a close
a
number two.
lot can change
That's
week
the
to
only other
week.
one
I
I
mean,
can think of.
Yeah.
Just last week we were saying, it's Kyle Shanahan without a doubt. This is literally, we said, not
True.
up for
True.
debate.
True.
1 week later, we're like, wow, it's not even a debate
I
now.
changed my mind.
And that's where we.
It's
I
Kevin-
just changed my mind.
I think we've said it in the
Stefanski.
past 3 full pods. Is the NFL is a week to week
It really
business,
is.
and that goes
changed
with
my
it
mind.
being so short.
Why? Who's the head?
Mike McDaniel.
Oh, okay.
I changed my mind
Really?
completely.
'Cause they just
I
beat
feel
the
like you were
Cowboys?
very anti Mike McDaniel
No.
last week. Like, because I thought I
No.
brought up Mike McDaniel, and
No, I love Mike McDaniel.
okay, maybe I'm mistaken, but
But this team, the Dolphins, before Mike McDaniel, and I will admit Tyreek Hill wasn't there yet, but before Mike McDaniel, like the Dolphins were like awful, man. Like Tua was looking like a huge bust. Now I'm not saying he is an MVP candidate, but sometimes gets in and kind of gets himself in there with good games. He'll get into the chatter for who's like MVP race. He'll always be at the bottom of a lot of people's boards, but he's gotten into the talks before. And I think their team is really good. I think the argument that they don't win a lot against teams that are over 500 this year is kind of a really bad example, because let's be honest, every single team has gotten beat by a team they're much better than this year. The records are
This is
so
the NFL.
scattered.
it's the NFL.
And they just beat the Cowboys.
The
Yeah.
Titans are good now
Over
somehow. Like, you know what I mean? It's a weird league.
Over
People get good quick.
60% of the league is still in the race right now. Every game, everyone always says, "Oh, this isn't a very good one," because you look at the records and they're around 500. But then a lot of those games have been competitive. The champion of
They've
last
been competitive.
year.
Doesn't mean they've been good games, because like
Yeah.
every single Thursday night game, other than
Most
last
of the
night, I would
primetime
say,
games have not been good.
yeah, that's where. But
So you're going with Mike McDaniels. Are you going to go with like Kyle Shanahan? Because my question then to you, Tom, is would you agree with Mikey if all suddenly the Dolphins
Tom,
beat Baltimore
Don't
this
falter.
week?
I'm gonna say no to Kyle. I'm gonna say no to Kyle Shanahan, and I'll use one of the reasons that you guys use against Brock. When the pieces aren't there, they're not getting
True.
it done. You know, and
So
that's
who's
where
your
if you're
coach of
gonna
the
hold
year?
that against Brock, I feel like you got to hold it against Shanahan as well. If we're just gonna keep it, moving up the ladder there, the one guy's whose fault it isn't, it's the general manager.
Yeah.
Like, he
That guy
had him there,
did
he
his
got him
job.
hurt. Hey, he did his job. So
Yeah.
So who's your coach of the year then?
Go with old Saint Nick.
I feel like it has to be the Browns coach.
All right, yeah.
Nick Stefanski.
I feel like
So
it has to be.
You did bring up Sean
More with less,
McVay.
baby.
Yeah.
Like, is there any? Because obviously now you're talking about Mike McDaniels. Is there anybody you want to convince for the Rams so they don't agree with us? Because
Like to throw in like a third party, like ring in the
Yeah.
hat. Yeah, I think what McVay's been able to do the second half of the year has been pretty impressive with the Rams. I think Stafford's been playing better. They seem to be a little bit more healthier and on the same page. They have hit stride at a pretty good time. They've put a good last couple weeks together. Their schedule, with the exception of the last game, like this upcoming week is a favorable matchup against the Giants, and then they're going to hit a wall with the 49ers, so they'll have to prove it.
Whoa. No matchup is favorable against the New York Giants, all right?
That's all right, man. Next year. But
hey, we'll cover.
if they can walk out the last game of the year, finishing with the back-to-back wins, one of them beating debatably the best team in the NFC, then yeah, I think McVay has a very strong argument for Coach of the Year.
So it sounds like, I mean, like I said, just from 1 week ago, we went from going, oh, it's Kyle Shanahan for sure, to now we have like potentially 5 great
Yeah.
candidates that we're not going to complain if at the end of the year we go, and the Coach of the Year is.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And you've said on multiple occasions, a couple times today, and you've said it on the regular throughout other shows, like every week everything changes.
Isn't that weird?
It is a what have you done for me recently league.
Well, but I still feel like
even it's just as easy even as everything is.
Well,
too.
with 2 weeks left to go, I feel like in years past, with 2 weeks left, we've basically been able to say like, oh, this is who's going to win MVP. This is who the coach of the year is. It's just crazy to think that this year it's like we don't know who the MVP is. We don't know who the coach of the year is. We don't even know who comeback player of the year is.
Yeah, it's been a crazy season. It's been a pretty entertaining season, a really good one. I've had a lot of fun watching. It's been
a great script. Great script.
That's why I said that today. Yeah,
Great script.
We did the NFL whip around on one of our segments today, and we were talking about everything, and we said, what if Joe Flacco took the Browns into the playoffs and then beat the Ravens, and then went to the Super Bowl, and who was it that we said and then beat the Lions in the Super Bowl. That potentially, all of that could happen. I said that at the end. We talked about that scenario. I go, that would be the greatest NFL script I've ever seen.
So now that
life.
you mentioned that, Tom and I were discussing this before you got here.
I don't even remember what you're talking about now.
If Joe Flacco did exactly that, is he
a
Hall of Famer?
I think he already is.
Oh, really? You already think he's a Hall of Famer?
I think he's very comparable to Eli. So do you have Eli in the Hall?
Oh, absolutely.
Eli has two.
Eli's the only guy to beat Tom Brady when it mattered, and he did it, twice, right?
Yeah.
No,
he's a dynasty stopper. I get that. He's a dynasty stopper,
So Tom Brady would have 9 if it wasn't for Eli
That
Manning.
damn Manning family, dude. They took more than 9 away from him as a family. With Peyton stopping him from getting 2 championships.
True, yeah.
So why do you think he's a Hall of Famer? Because I know in the past, I was telling Tom, I do believe that he's a Hall of Famer as well, but my reasoning always is, again, I feel I'm one of those weird people that I feel like if you win the MVP of the championship game, as long as you're an above average player, in my book, you should and would go to the...
Let's sit that. I just want to focus on that. Let's get Flacco out of it for a second. If you were the MVP player in a championship game and your team wins that game, you just shined on the brightest. Is that a deserving enough? Is that alone? If you're a mediocre player your whole career, but for some reason.
Well, I said average player. I did say above average.
Average. So an average. You're a household name, but not a
I was going to say yes, he would, simply because I think that exact same thing applies for him being a Raven instead. If you took that scenario instead of said win MVP in the Super Bowl, he was the greatest Raven quarterback the Ravens had ever seen, in my opinion. So
yeah, I'm pretty sure he has all of the records.
If you are the best quarterback to ever play for your team, you're a Hall of Famer. There's only 32 teams.
Okay,
and you know what I mean.
But
going
back to
30 teams, right?
My counter argument.
30's NBA.
My counter argument to Joe, which we stopped the conversation immediately after, and then we both probably realized that there really wasn't too much further to go into it, was I haven't been to the Basketball Hall of Fame. I haven't been to the Football Hall of Fame. I've been to the Baseball Hall of Fame just because it's here in New York, semi-locally. They have artifacts and baseball's a different sport where luck plays everything into it, where you can be the most clutch guy in the world, but if it's not your spot in the lineup, it doesn't do you any good. Yeah. You can just get lucky that one at bat and it be the most meaningful thing in the world, and that bat may go to Cooperstown, but you may not go to Cooperstown.
Because I was also mentioning, for basketball, so the Dream Team is in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
As they should be.
And the Dream Team includes Christian Laettner, who obviously as a player is not in the Hall of Fame, but is in the Hall of Fame because he's on the Dream Team, and the Dream Team is in the Hall of Fame. So just to kind of go again
that
with
is really weird that you wouldn't have each individual player of the Dream Team in the Hall of Fame, and just they should all have a plaque like everybody else does, and then it says member of the Dream Team. Why?
But the Dream Team together was so significant that they deserve a place.
No, I agree with that, but I think they all should be individually inducted as members of the Dream Team.
And I believe they are. I believe everybody in there is a Hall of Famer except
you said they're not.
Well,
except for Laettner.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. It's just one guy doesn't have a plaque in there. The rest of them all have that plaque.
Yeah, because they're individually in there on their own.
But the team also was that good that you have to remember them as a group, and that's the only time they ever played as a group. And he just so happened to be on the the squad.
on the squad.
Yeah.
I mean, he was more of a water boy on that squad.
No, he was
looking at
because
the
he was the
documentary.
college guy.
So you agree that like if you win an MVP in the whatever sport championship, that it should go to the Hall of Fame? Because obviously I can name.
I want to
player,
hear your answer because I may have a counter argument.
Well, I think it's
I have
kind
an
of
example.
it's kind of a gray area because you said they have to be somewhat good. Like,
Yeah.
what is somewhat good? Because if it's somebody like
I'll give you the perfect example. Could I give it?
Yeah, sure.
Nick Foles. He is a Super Bowl
Absolutely.
MVP. He has had a very average career. He hasn't been the starter for a whole season anywhere.
yes, because
Is
he
he a
also,
Hall of Fame? Is he a Hall of Fame quarterback in my eyes without the MVP? Absolutely not.
No, yeah.
I don't think he is with it. I think like you should put his play card in there and
That'd be
have the
fair.
Philly highlighted in there. There should be like a little because that play
I'd be cool with that.
that I think it like do
So
something
just
like
kinda
a
like
baseball.
the call, the play.
Does Nick Foles deserve to be in there because he was an Hall of Fame caliber player?
I can name two
In my
others as
opinion,
well.
no. He stepped up in that moment though at the brightest of times and that is a moment that needs to be remembered in
go through the
NFL
whole
history that
playoffs, though.
should be in there in some way, shape, or form.
And they
but I
were
don't
underdogs.
believe he's a good enough player to get in.
I
That would
think
be
he should.
how my view is on
So-
it. But I could see the argument too, yeah, that
I think he's
there's not as many opportunities and you shine the brightest on the the brightest day. That is, importance to NFL history enough to get you in. I
See,
could see the counter
And
argument
that's
there.
the thing. You gotta we're on Super Bowl 53 or something like that. So you gotta remember, if you win an MVP, there's less than 50 other guys because there's been repeat MVPs
True,
like Tom
true.
Brady. So that means you are literally the 1% of 1%, like of athletes going.
Dude, Tom Brady's won
I'll look it
almost
up and see if there
1/5
is
of all
anybody
the
that's not
Super
in it.
Bowls. I never thought about it like that. That is crazy. I guess it's not really 1/5 because it was what 7.
that
Yeah.
is insane to think about.
But like I said, so some of the other players I was thinking, and I know we've had this debate
I
about.
think Nick
is, like,
Foles should. Sorry to cut you off, but I want you to get into it. I think Nick Foles should because he also has tied the record for the most touchdowns in a game. So I think that's another cool accolade. Not only did
Yeah.
he lead the most underdogged, literally
through the whole playoffs.
the
I
most
mean,
underdogged
Wentz
team.
was out the whole playoffs,
Boom,
so it
right
wasn't
there,
like
dude.
all of a sudden just randomly.
But go on. What other ones you talking about?
I was thinking of like Julian Edelman, obviously different sport. Andre Iguodala.
I think Andre Iguodala definitely should. Because I think for his entire time in the league, he was one of the best players. Well, I would say a top 15 guy until he got to the Warriors. But then
because like
he
the
got an MVP.
76ers and like the Denver, he was pretty good. Yeah.
But then when he went to the Warriors, he wasn't that guy anymore. But an argument can be made that it was just because he came off the bench because he won a
And his
Finals
role
MVP.
shifted from a scorer to a defensive
Yeah,
player.
and assist. He was a great passer. So
So
I
what
think
about-
Andre Iguodala should individually be a Hall of Famer, but that's like him.
What about like Julian Edelman?
That's kind
So
of tough too.
the article I just pulled up
How many is he
is
have? Like, what,
literally titled, and it's sportscasting.com, is titled, Julian Edelman will join a list of Super Bowl MVPs not to make the Pro Hall of Fame. I gasped earlier, and I'm sure the camera has it. The first thing that popped up when I was Google searching for it, and I'm sure that I didn't search, the fastest route to get
Right.
there, but it was a list of MVPs, MVP seasons.
Oh,
So there's a
not-
list of like Steve I don't know if Steve McNair. I take that back. Steve McNair's got to be in there. But like there was a list of MVPs, the guys that have won the most valuable player
For the
for
whole
one season
season.
that are not in the Hall of Fame.
Well, that's strictly for
Which
football,
that is-
right?
Well, then yeah,
that is
kind
true.
of
That was a
changes
football
everything.
list.
Then
That
if
was a
you-
football list because I think that's
'Cause
more
if
valuable
you win a
to
Super
me.
Bowl MVP, then no, you shouldn't because if winning an MVP doesn't get you in, then
Like
no.
isn't a guaranteed trip.
Which is
you know
something
what
I'm
I
going to
mean?
disagree with, obviously, because
And
I
that's your
just
belief.
disagree
No,
with
and
that
that's
list,
and that's
yeah.
your take. I feel like you have an argument there.
Because when you
which-
look at other sports, so for basketball, every single MVP ever in the league has gone to the Hall of Fame. That's why people are
Yeah.
so nervous about Derrick Rose because he won MVP, had a catastrophic
That's-
career injury, and people are like, "Is Derrick Rose going to make it? Is he going to be the first
That's
first
different
MVP?
though because like
Ooh,
one guy
I
in
got a guy.
basketball has so much more of an impact than one person in football does.
But
Do you know Desmond Howard? He
No.
for the Green Bay Packers in Super Bowl 31.
I don't know.
Really?
Heinz Ward. is on that list of Super Bowl MVP winners.
I think he'll be. I think he'll be a Hall of Famer eventually.
What about Deion Branch? I feel like that's another one from our
That's a good one,
childhood.
Is that Patriots?
Yeah, Patriots MVP, Super Bowl MVP 39.
Well, Tom, speaking of MVPs, you kind of glanced over the Brock Purdy thing earlier. Tried getting out,
I did.
Escaping quickly.
He had a bad game after I was hyping him up, but I've been hyping him up for a few
Bad
weeks.
game. I don't know. 4 interceptions.
He might have had.
That was really, I can't remember. I watched the last. Was the last one? Was the last one him?
Sam Darnold.
I was saying, did they put him back in after
No.
I thought they put Sam Darnold in and then took him out.
Hey, Sam Darnold actually looked pretty good. Actually, I think he played better statistically.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's hard to not play better statistically, but I didn't think he looked good either. I think he still had.
I think
he
people
had
down the
one
middle.
or two
He just
picks.
looked like he was making
So-
some easy passes.
Is he not your MVP anymore?
For this week.
I think he still is, and that's where I meant to do this earlier, and I didn't pull up the list. But that's where I want to look at the past MVP winners. How many years has it been since a non-quarterback?
2012.
Because every quarterback that I can think of has had maybe not as bad of a game, but not worse games, really bad games. Like Dak's game against the Bills was absolutely horrendous.
I don't think Dak's ever won an MVP.
But I'm saying in this year's competition, like.
Oh, okay.
The race for it in terms of if I'm looking at it just as a QB only, how many years has it been since a non-QB
I
won?
just told you 2012.
So that's where it's been 11 years.
Yeah, so
It's time.
It very well could be if it's gonna happen
That's
this
probably
year.
really loud.
If it's gonna happen again, it's gonna happen this year because I still think if you look at the stats over the course of the year, I still think Brock's the best statistically, and I think that's what they're looking at. That's what I'm determining.
You know what? I just kind of popped into my head. I'm wondering if the same thing's going to happen to the 49ers, because I believe this actually happened years ago, where the voters are going to be split and someone random's going to win the MVP.
It very well could happen.
Because some people might vote for Christian McCaffrey, and then other people are going to vote for
I think you could see
Brock
a Dak
Purdy.
here.
Because I think that's what happened a few years ago with Jerry Rice and I think it was Joe Montana or it was Steve Young, one or the other, and someone other person got the MVP because they were like, oh, should we give it to Jerry Rice? Oh, should we give it to Joe Montana? And neither one of them got it because they split.
CMC.
And those years are tough, right? Like where
I think
if you have three guys that are all in the conversation, I guess, it is a toss-up for everybody, even though we may be thinking of it as, last week we were talking CMC versus Brock, and those
you
were
saw
the two
who's
guys,
the leader in odds now, right?
Who is the leader?
It's
in odds?
Lamar.
I was going to say, yeah, if Lamar wins out, though, is it him? That's where it's like, I know you got to finish strong to leave the good impression, but he had a rough beginning of the year, too, early.
Right.
Like, they couldn't move the ball
rather
through
have
the
a rough
air.
start than a rough finish, though.
100%. I mean, depending on how rough the start is and how long it is, if you don't want to knock yourself out. Like the
Bengals
Bengals
they have the
this
best
year.
record in the league now, so you know what I mean.
Agreed. Yeah,
And if they
but that's
beat
what I'm
the
saying. I'm thinking like
Dolphins-
the Bengals start where that was rough, real rough early. If they looked okay with Browning, they don't look super red hot. You know what I mean? But
He's proven he's a backup, but he's proven that he's capable.
agreed, and he's proven that if you cut him, he will hold a grudge.
I
It's a
think
great clip. If I can find a way to download that, I'll put that in there.
I can't. No, I'm not gonna tell you your opinion is wrong. First of all, but it's hard for me to align with your opinion given your previous argument being that Brock Purdy has consistently not lost you games. Brock Purdy was the reason they lost that game 1,000%.
Agreed. Agreed, and that's where I'm. And that's
CMC
where I'm
did
saying.
his best to keep him in it.
But he didn't have a great statistical night either. Like I think he only had 50 yards rushing, maybe.
How many
like,
rushes did he have?
I think like 12, 13.
Yeah, because he
Which-
couldn't
that's-
rush the ball because their quarterback kept turning it over.
I think that's a pretty average rush load for. They pass the ball pretty frequently. They use
Not
Debo
for
every now
him,
and again.
no.
I want to see how many. I mean, he gets. I'm saying he usually catches more balls out of the backfield too, and he didn't. They didn't do that a whole lot with him, which I thought was. I didn't know if that was smart, if that was strategic. Like late in the game when it was too late to be a contest, they weren't checking the ball down to CMC to let him get tackled by a linebacker.
Yeah, and I also.
Speak.
It's hard. It's hard to go with Brock. Because we were proven that day that non-quarterbacks can win you games. On the very same day that he imploded, we saw
But that's where
Favre and McDonald
I'm gonna put
not complete a pass for 3 quarters.
I'm gonna say that you guys have to put some blame on. We just said his name earlier. I'm terrible with coaches' names, but
Kyle Shanahan.
Oh,
Shanahan, because I mean, you guys are saying that all year long, Brock's just been put in the driver's seat and told to, go pass the ball where he's told to, and
Yes,
if that's what it was,
we
then this
definitely
was
can put
Shanahan's
some
fault,
blame
right?
on-
Like,
No, because you can still crash a Maserati.
Well,
agree, but that's what I'm saying. That's why quarterbacks get the MVP award, because even if you're a running back, you can't
Yes,
complete.
you can. You will
You
not
can fumble a lot, but you
will
can't.
not win a game if one individual person in your offense has 4 turnovers. No matter
Agreed.
who you
and
are.
what person has the most opportunity to make those turnovers is what I'm saying.
Wide receivers, I would say.
Disagreed.
You could argue wide receivers. You could argue wide receivers because
How? You touch the ball.
Patty Mahomes is a great
If you're
example.
not a number 1 wide receiver, you touch the ball 4 times a game, maybe?
No, I'm saying the wide receiver core.
That is more reasonable because you're getting chased down from behind.
And honestly, we could just
I could see what you're saying.
we
there.
could simply go to what's his face, just Joe Blanky. You guys used to have him. You send him over to the Chiefs.
But I'm
Tony,
saying,
you could use Tony as a great
Kadarius
example.
Toney.
Tony himself is responsible for like 7 turnovers of Patty Mahomes this year.
and that's what I would say is those turnovers don't get attributed to the wide. Like a lot of those wide receiver turnovers. Are you talking about like tipped balls, like like the ones that I really think that there should be? And I think we said it maybe.
Yeah, like an
It's not on any
asterisk-
of our published
like
procs.
an asterisk.
Yeah, it should be a
interception.
team interception. Like if it's a ball that went off the wide receiver's helmet and went up in the air 20 feet and a guy was camped out under it, that goes on the quarterback's interception. Like he didn't do anything wrong. That wasn't his fault. So that's what I'm saying. Like if you come with these certain liabilities of playing quarterback, and that doesn't always have to be your fault, but that's where I'm saying Brock has the worst of the worst situations right now, because I feel like you align with the
I think he's got
majority
the
of
best of the best.
I think you align with the majority of people where you're saying that he's not deserving of the MVP and he's not really that good. And
Oh
when,
no! Before last week, he was my number 2 in MVP.
I
That's
was
fair.
the
I've
one
said that a
had
lot,
him
yeah.
And
lower
I
on
get-
the-
and
I
that
had
is
him
fair.
like 4 or 5.
that's
At
right.
4,
I'll say just the general majority of people are saying that he isn't deserving of being in the MVP race at all.
Now I think he is gotta show the F out the next 2 weeks if he wants to get back to the top. But right now,
I think he could play
at
averagely
my
if Lamar
five.
has an game and throws two picks and a loss. I think Brock wins out in average games. I think Brock.
No,
That's-
no, because they face off head to head. If they go in with the same record or the same year, Lamar came out on top when they went head to head. That's
fair.
heavy.
And
you know
just-
what I mean?
That is fair.
Hey Tom,
I
just
can't
to
argue
help
against
you
that.
out with the Kyle Shanahan, some of the blame should be put on him as well, because Kyle Shanahan is actually 0-36 now when the 49ers have trailed by at least 8 points in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
That's a stat.
Yeah.
Wow.
Second worst in NFL history. The only person that's worse is Jay Gruden at 0-41.
Wow,
Thank you.
I would have guessed that
It was stuff like that I was like, I need you to get that out, because there was one bit last week where we just kept arguing, and Joe tried to get it out like twice and 2 or 3 times, and when you watch it back at full speed.
Yeah, we talked about
You
that
moving
last
here?
week. I was like, dude, you just gotta just say what you're
No,
thinking.
but like that, if we that's a great that stat needed to be said,
Yeah.
because that's wild. That actually.
So some of the blame definitely should go to Kyle Shanahan, because obviously game flow, game planning, that's all on
I
him.
disagree.
You should be able to- you
I
should-
disagree with
That's a
that
one-
statement.
that's a 1-score game.
No, I disagree with that statement, because although that is a very, very jarring stat, I don't care what coach you are. When your quarterback throws 3 interceptions in the first quarter or the first half, it's gonna be tough to win that game.
True,
So,
but 0-36, that's
Agreed. Yeah,
but that-
obviously Jimmy Garoppolo
No,
as well.
I
and-
agree.
Is calling deep pass plays into
no, what I'm
into
saying is,
too high coverage, is that on, like, do you still put it on the quarterback when he's throwing,
I don't think you
like
can.
the Sam Darnold pick at the end of the game? That was meaningless, and he just had to force the ball down the field.
But I'm saying this game in particular, I don't think you can use it as an example,
Okay.
because your quarterback got you in such a hole.
Oh, yeah.
You were
Agreed.
using your backup by the time that it was an 8-point game in the fourth quarter. Like you were hoping to keep it together. You know what I mean? You just didn't want it to get ugly at that point.
Agreed.
So I feel like anybody would have struggled. So it's not a good example for this particular game, but that is quite the jarring stat. That I
Yeah,
don't
because
think
obviously
anybody really
0-36 means that's obviously including Jimmy Garoppolo,
Yeah.
Trey Lance. Who's
Yeah,
their
and he
other?
hasn't had the best quarterbacks
No.
outside of this.
Yeah, he
No.
really
on
hasn't.
that team.
No, absolutely not. I'd agree with you there. But
And when you
that's
don't have a
where it's
quarterback who can throw it deep,
you don't-
that's
you
going to
don't
be
have-
hard to win those.
you don't have one one 8-point comeback.
I know, right?
It's a 1-possession game in the
That's
NFL.
tough.
Like in your career, like that's just that. You know, he's thinking about that tonight.
He's
Like,
like, we better not trail at any point.
Where'd you find that stat? Like was that like said publicly recently that you knew about that and you looked it up to confirm it?
Yeah,
Like,
Nick Wright has been hammering basically Kyle Shanahan the last few weeks on First Things First. So then I looked
he's
it up.
relentless when he picks a target.
He's ruthless.
Yeah.
So that's why I was like,
when he
what,
picks a
what was
target,
the
he
number?
buries him.
There's people that I don't really know if I dislike anybody enough to go at them as hard as. There's people that have lost me money on bets doing dumb things like shots when they're not necessary. You know what I mean? Just like, and I don't hate any of them enough to give them I don't even remember his name, Nick, whatever it is, but I know exactly who you're talking about. He goes in on people.
He does.
Yeah.
When he picks a target, he goes hard.
But I just said, my only thing is, obviously, like you said, he's not had the greatest of quarterbacks until then, but it just seems like as a head coach, he can't really figure out how to manage the game when trailing. Like, all of a sudden, he's just like, okay, I have CMC. I have these great running backs.
Christian ran for over 100.
Huh?
I lied earlier. Christian ran for over 100.
Yeah.
He had like a 45-yard touchdown.
I forget that was. I was thinking outside of the long run. There it is. That makes sense though.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I was just saying that I feel like Mikey was saying about staying up late at night, where it's like the 49ers are such a juggernaut offense when leading, but then all of a sudden, if they start trailing and it gets to the fourth quarter, he kind of then has to second guess. Is like, okay,
no,
I've had Brock Purdy, I've had Jimmy Graham, Jimmy Garoppolo, I've had all these quarterbacks, and I can't seem to come back in the fourth quarter. Better never give it up, or they're not going to win the Super Bowl.
What three quarterback? Here's the thing. What three quarterbacks have they had? 3 quarterbacks that aren't known for slinging the rock. Those teams have been heavily carried offensively, even now, by their running backs. It's really hard to come back, especially when it's over a touchdown, especially when the clock's running out. It's hard to come back when you're a running offense. Now, I know now they're not exactly a running offense, but they rely heavily on their running back.
I think playoff football, you have to be in some way, shape, or form.
Have to be what?
You have to be able to run the ball effectively. Like you don't
that's
have
what
to be.
Got them
you
to
don't
all
have to-
their NFC Championship games and Super Bowls.
I know what you're saying, and they were a run first offense, a run attack. Where I wouldn't describe Kansas City as a run first, but they can still run the ball effectively with Pacheco. Like they're not a run first offense, but I think you have to be able to run the ball in some way.
Yeah, but they were run first.
I agree with you.
Remember
I get
when
what you're saying.
the Falcons were in the Super Bowl and they lost? They blew the 28-3 lead. Do we consider that offensive pass first offense?
I would.
Because you do know the offense coordinator was for that.
Bro, that's Tom Brady.
But I'm just saying, like, Kyle Shanahan was the offense coordinator play calling for that. And he couldn't. That's another one where it's like, we just blew a lead.
That's Bill.
You're
Actually,
not-
I'm putting it on Bill.
You're not blowing a 28-point lead because you can't close in the fourth quarter. That is a team absolutely imploding on itself. No coach can win that game when your team blows a 25-point lead.
Yeah. Yeah, there was nothing that the Falcons could have done to not lose that game. They were going to self-implode. That was just I was about to say destiny. That's crazy. That's twice. I'm blue earlier.
Well, I'm just saying,
that's crazy.
Kyle Shanahan did have Matt Ryan as at least, I would say he's a pretty good quarterback. I don't know if that stat is strictly as him as a head coach or.
I don't think they're a comparable situation.
Matt Ryan was in the Super Bowl and won MVP.
Years before that, yes, he fell off immediately after that. Something happened to him mentally.
Didn't he win MVP?
If you have the MVP, he did. Yes, you're right. If you have the MVP and you lose when you're winning by that much going into the second half, that is not
shot.
The coach. That is that MVP's fault for crumbling.
Especially in Atlanta, it's fitting.
Yeah,
you deserve to be shot.
I don't think they could be compared, but I don't got Brock as my number one anymore.
I still have him up as my one just because
I'm just killing Kyle Shanahan. He's not the coach of the year.
It's gone to 2 running backs in the past 20 years. LT and an AP.
You know what that means?
And
we're due.
It's time.
We're due.
You're not wrong because think about it. LT, AP,
yeah,
and now CMC. They all do go by the acronym, so it is fitting
And all three are easily the three best running backs from LT beginning to Christian McCaffrey now.
True, hands down. Like, you can't argue another running back is.
That's it. We've spoken into existence.
So
everybody else gave
so
up.
you're with us.
I'm not.
CMC's MVP. Thank you. All right, moving on.
I could see why it would happen, and I wouldn't be that mad. And I could see Brock screwed himself. He just had to play average throughout. Like these.
I agree with Mikey though. If they play average, Lamar then just wins.
Yeah,
He needs
no,
to be sensational.
I'm saying say what Lamar played just as well as he did last night. Say they still won, the Ravens did, but say Brock played in just an average game. Maybe he threw one pick, like, and down the stretch late. I don't know if that. Like, I still would have Brock as my.
What is this
Well, yeah, because I
hypothetical?
think that completely changes everything. Because at that point,
Well, that's right.
he didn't lose you the game.
That's right. I'm not putting. That's right. I guess I'm not gonna throw all my eggs into one basket this week. Where I'm still gonna say I'm still gonna go with Brock. But
Yeah, because it changes week to week.
This week
It's just
I'm
we
saying
never had Brock as the MVP.
I was all in last week, very much so. This week, not as much in, but I can still see.
So how many chips you
Brock
got in?
winning
Seeing
this.
if the
20?
water's still warm.
I'm
kinda,
still
toe it in.
if I'm putting money down on it, I'm still putting money with Brock at this point in time over
Even
CMC.
though he's fifth in the odd makers right now.
Well,
Yeah.
Joe, you brought up Atlanta earlier, and a certain individual that I don't know because it was on an ESPN
I got
article.
you. It's on there. I'll
But-
you just talk about it. I'll get
A
there.
certain individual brought up that
Bill Barnwell.
Bill Barnwell, thank you, that the Atlanta Falcons have all the pieces, and they compared to how the team is being ran from a coaching perspective to if the Warriors dynasty ran the ball through Festus Ezeli.
That was
and
Andrew Bogut.
And I think it was they said both.
They
right?
said both. Yep.
It was like Andrew Bogut and Festus Ezeli, instead of the Splash Brothers, which I completely agree with as somebody who drafted Kyle Pitts in a dynasty league his rookie year and expected him to be absolutely unstoppable.
Did you get Drake London too?
No, no, I did not because I got
Chris Olave?
Yeah, I'm not in the league anymore. I got Chris Olave, but for the 3 years that I was in the league and that I had him, or 2 years, I don't remember. It just was really sad because he's not utilized at all. Drake London's not that utilized at all. Is it Ritter's really bad, or do they just not tell him to focus on the only good parts of their offense?
Well, being that they talk about all the time that the head coach likes to use Drake London and Kyle Pitts as decoys, it's kind of hard to put it on Ritter because he's just doing what the coach is saying. Hey, these are your decoys. Throw it to this guy.
And Bijan Robinson's had once.
He's another
when he's
piece.
handed
Oh
the
my
rock, he
gosh.
does phenomenal.
I want to make sure we're talking about the Andrew Bogut. He's the guy, the really big hands from the Cheez-It commercial, right?
No, that's
No.
Boban Bovanovic.
I was gonna say because if we're running the offense through him, that's gonna be entertaining. I'll tune in for that.
You don't want to
Like,
run your offense to that guy.
No, Bogut's a little more boring of a player.
He was probably one of the best Australian players to ever play.
Yep.
I'm
Spent
sure
a
if I
lot of
saw
his-
the face, I'm gonna look it up
spent
right
a lot
now.
of his
I was
time in
pulling up the
Milwaukee.
article because there was one bit that I did want to get to with that. With you brought up Pitts not getting anything, but Bijan also doesn't make a lot of sense to
Neither does Drake
the
London.
NFL.
Like I said,
Drake
they
London
use
doesn't make a lot
all
of
of
sense.
these guys as decoys, which
And
makes no
then
sense.
Where they're placing blame doesn't make the most sense to me.
Because they keep blaming the quarterback, right?
Well,
Because they keep
all last year it was, hey, we're gonna stick with Ritter. Ritter's the guy. Like, and he was a rookie quarterback at
and
that
then
point
they
in
put
time. And
what's his name? And Marcus Mariota, he was like the quarterback.
I think he started the year, right?
they were talking about how they didn't know where the problems were. It didn't make sense for how bad that Atlanta team was last year because they thought they liked their pieces. That defense, they didn't add a ton in the offseason. You know,
The defense is pretty
they're
good.
really
And then
good.
they went in this year and saying we're going to stick with Ritter, and then they put in Tyler Heineke.
Heineke,
Is
yep.
it
who
Taylor
was-
or is it Tyler?
I think it's Taylor.
Taylor
and
Heineke.
he's a proven quarterback. Like,
But they
he's
keep flip
competed
flopping them. They
in
can't
the
figure out
NFC
which
East,
quarterback
like-
to use.
with a good defense, with the Commanders' defense last year. I would say that's maybe a slightly bit lower in Atlanta this year.
They need to just
He's getting paid
overall
fat though.
management.
Heineke is. Heineke's making a nice contract.
They just need overall management, reset. You got a good roster, and I mean lower management, coaches. Get rid of,
Why
get
are we
rid of the
blaming
coaches.
Desmond Ritter? That's unless he is being told to throw it to Kyle Pitts and Drake London and like get these guys more touches. and he's just not doing it.
Yeah.
That's the only way that I could see this being his fault, because those guys are your playmakers and they're not getting the ball. How do you expect the fact that they have the record that they do and they're still a playoff contender is mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Do you think at the end of the season here, down the stretch, they're maybe going to go, oh, hey, we should try to win this division and give it to their playmakers?
I think it's too late.
It's too late, but you just said they're in the running.
They're in the running, but I think it's too late.
You know,
Baker's heated up, baby. Baker's hot.
You know, I was inspired this week, Joe.
Inspired?
Yeah. I was inspired by maybe one of the smartest players I'd ever seen play this weekend. I walked into work today and I said, you know what? I'm the manager.
You're the manager.
I was pulling up the notes. I was like, I have no clue where you're going with this, and then I got there.
Take it away, Joe.
Yeah, all you. You best be able. If I was able to connect it, you should be able to. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, it is. That was
I
good.
know.
I enjoyed that.
So I missed it because who the heck actually watches the coin toss?
Facts.
Or the Packers.
Facts.
Jeez.
or the Panthers. You know.
Yeah. So yes, apparently Jair Alexander
game to
was
do it.
not elected captain, which, funny fact, Tom and I just learned, most NFL teams, or at
We
least
shouldn't say most. At least the Giants.
At least the Giants.
Is it same with the Steelers? Is it one set of captains for the
select
year?
captains for the whole year?
Yeah, but they often
Unless
send
somebody
out
gets accused of and falls off a motorcycle.
Whoa, we're not supposed to say that word. I think they do, but they send out different captains just for coin tosses though, throughout the year, because they all have the same. Everyone has a C's on their jersey. The reason I picked that up.
Everyone has the C's on their jersey for Pittsburgh.
Not everybody, but like the guys who have C's at the beginning have C's at the end. But
Gotcha.
they just send different captains out for coin tosses.
I was gonna say because the
Gotcha.
Packers elect like different captains like
Weekly.
every week.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently Jair Alexander
Allowed.
is from Charlotte, which is where the Panthers basically play. And he was very upset that he was not elected
they're
captain
Raleigh.
for that week.
I think it's Charlotte.
Is it Charlotte?
I'm pretty sure it's Charlotte.
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So
Sorry, side note.
so the captains went out to the coin toss, and again, let me remind the folks here, Jair Alexander was not elected, so
Not a captain.
not a captain, decides to go out with the captains, and to make matters even worse, he actually decides to speak, even though he's not a captain, call the correct side of the coin, and then instead of saying defer, he said, oh, I want my defense out there, which is different because now what you are telling, you're actually telling the ref what you want to do.
Each team gets a choice, right?
A choice.
And I wanted to make sure we covered this too, because he clearly did not understand that
The rules,
in the
yeah.
press conference after. Like, he had no clue. Each team gets a choice at the coin toss. You meet at the beginning of the first half and the beginning of the second half. If you win the toss, you can defer your choice to the second half, in which case the other team has their choice right then and there. They can choose to kick the ball if they want, and you'll receive it, and then you still have your choice to receive in the second half. We used to do it all the time in Pop Warner to kids that didn't know any better.
I never knew that. I thought
Yes.
deferring meant you're giving up your option to choose.
No, deferring is we're going to defer our election to the second half. That is deferring.
I never knew
So
that.
that is what you want to do if you want to kick the ball and go on defense first and get the ball in the second half. He did not know that. Most people, I feel like, don't know that.
Yeah, I never
We
knew.
used to get people with it all the time in Pop Warner.
All right,
So
well, like,
it was great. We would get the ball twice, and coaches would be livid at the beginning of the second half because they wouldn't have any clue. Kids would come back and say, hey, we're getting the ball, or we're kicking off. They'd
So-
be like, oh, we're getting the ball in the second half, and then all of a sudden we're receiving twice.
So if you choose to receive or kick, I'm sorry, like he wanted to do, you do not receive the second half.
No,
then?
it's the other. You made your selection, so then
They
the other
decided
team gets
we
to
are-
make their selection
And they
in
can
the second
defer.
half. And no, so in the second half, there's no deferring because you're not deferring anywhere.
Okay. So
It's just their
because you win
turn.
the coin toss,
Each
you
team
get
gets a
the
turn to
first
choose.
choice.
Each
Okay.
team gets a turn to choose.
I never knew that. That's good to know.
So that's how it works. And
Jair,
Alexander did not know this either. And
I don't blame him.
And so he said, I believe he
I
said
want the defense out there.
that was how he answered the question. And he's very lucky that he answered it that way and not, we're going to kick.
Yeah.
Because if he would have said that, I don't think the officials.
Because then the ref asked, like, do you mean
Yes.
defer? Because
'Cause-
Matt LaFleur
well, he didn't give
actually
one of the
asked
answers.
before the game. He mentioned to the ref before the game saying, if we win the coin toss, we would like to defer.
Yes.
Because apparently we've had another issue with this earlier in the
Maybe
season.
that's why you have a captain that stays out there the whole year and does
No,
the speaking.
We
It's a
need
good point.
to elect
And that's
3
what-
different captains every week.
And that's what I said. And my biggest problem is the biggest name that you named to me out of there, and
Aaron Jones.
You may know a bigger name out of the 3 that may be a more established
Aaron
leader.
Jones.
Aaron Jones is one of the guys there. He is, in my eyes, as an outsider, just an NFL
He's one
fan.
of the older players on the team.
He's a leader.
Yeah.
Like, he is one of your main leaders, should be your
Yeah.
veteran leader.
Let me
Doesn't
remind
have
everyone,
the nerve to
Packers are the
say,
youngest team in the NFL. Aaron Jones has been on the team for like 7 years. So
and Jair is proven to be a fool at times, talking pretty what we thought was crazily, proved himself right. But he's been known to be kind of crazy and kind of a loose cannon already.
Right.
So
Do you
at
want me
what
to
point do
tell
you
that
not
story?
say? At what point do you not say, "Hey, you go back to the sidelines," or "Hey, shut the hell up"?
good.
You want some?
Like, you know what I mean? But
So-
yeah, go
so
through that
for me-
because
So what Tom is referring
they're
to?
very loose rumors. But we should
They're
mention that.
loose rumors, but last year, the Packers and the Vikings are in the same division. So the first time the Packers played the Vikings, Justin Jefferson had like 150 yards
Tore
of
him
receiving.
up.
Tore up the Packers defense. However, and then people were just blasting Jair Alexander, saying like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you were an elite like corner. You just got absolutely destroyed by Justin Jefferson. You better never talk again." And then Jair fired back, saying like, "Actually, you guys don't understand. I wasn't allowed to follow and shadow Justin Jefferson all over the field. We were playing like a zone, so you can't. Those 150 yards weren't really on me. Get it right." And so then the second time, because they're in our division, we play them twice. The second time the Vikings played the Packers, again, this was just a very loose rumor. The rumor was the Packers defense coordinator, Joe Barry, was going to have the same scheme of have like a zone and have not Jair Alexander follow Justin Jefferson everywhere. They were just going to do the regular zone, which Justin Jefferson just got 150 yards against us. So
And what happened?
So Jair took it upon himself, again, rumor, why we're saying he's a loose cannon, and said, no, screw Joe Barry's ideas. I'm going to shadow and follow Justin Jefferson everywhere on this field, and the defense can basically just shift around me. And it actually paid off because in that game, Jair Alexander grittied over Justin Jefferson, rightfully so, because he held him to 1 catch for 15 yards for the entire game. And basically from that point on, Jair just kind of became a super loose cannon and thought, I can do whatever I want, in my opinion.
I would. I like your take, and I'll give it the comparison there.
Yeah.
Where I would say, and that's where I don't focus on him enough to comment on his, like, would you say he's a top 5 corner?
He was
in the
before
NFL?
this year.
I'm saying
He's
this year
paid
right now.
it,
Like,
yeah.
that's where.
Well, he's been injured. So
Is it kind of Richard Sherman-esque after the NFC title game, the NFC championship game of the you
That's what
can't come
happens
at
when
me?
you put a sorry-ass
Sorry.
wide receiver on me like crap.
Yeah, where like it reminds me of that. Where when you get him in front of the camera, I don't know what he's gonna say, but Richard Sherman, I think you trust a little more with it being that he's a now Stanford graduate. I don't know if he's graduated before he got taken, but yeah, he went to Stanford. He's a smart guy. Like, you know, like. So I think you trust him even though he's a heated competitor, and I mean, they give him a mic on live TV, so
I love him.
you
and
know
the
what I mean?
worst,
I'm a huge fan.
And to make matters worse, so the reason I'm also mentioning the Vikings is the Packers actually play the Vikings this weekend, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, awesome, rematch of the century, Jair Alexander versus Justin Jefferson, and the Packers just suspended Jair Alexander for 1 game for his antics at the coin toss.
Well, and I mean,
Jefferson back?
yes,
Yes.
I know it.
Nick Mullins is dishing the rock
Did he
to
play
him. I
He's
last
believe.
not. He's not this week.
No,
Did he
who's
play
in?
last week?
I don't know.
It's
Their
not
rookie.
Kirko.
It's their rookie, whoever their rookie is.
Did
I don't know.
That was announced today.
Did
I don't know.
Jefferson come? Did he come back the same game that he got injured again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, he did.
Yeah,
Okay,
with
I
the
thought he was
chest-
out for the whole game.
chest, yeah.
No, he was out for. I think he was out for the. Was he out for the remainder of that game?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
but then
he
he's
came back
he's coming.
after?
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
good to go this week.
Oh,
Hey,
okay.
he played last
Oh,
week too.
Yeah, last
Okay,
week
that's
too.
what
You're
I
right. That
wasn't
was
sure.
2 weeks ago.
I
I'm
didn't know
getting
if he
mixed
played
in
last
my-
week or not.
But yeah. Oh, and so Tom was also mentioning Aaron Jones about being a leader. Well, after Jair Alexander got suspended, Aaron Jones then put on his Instagram story or Snapchat story a picture of the 4 of them seemingly to be in support of Jair Alexander.
Well, I mean,
Well, wait, can I interject real
Yes.
fast, sir?
yes, sir.
I'm not gonna lie. Now, before we get into this.
Okay.
I want you to take a neutral stance
Talking to me?
on your team.
Okay.
Because you came off a little
Can't do it.
homerish right there. Because, from an outsider's perspective, everything you just explained from the player's stance that you seem to put very negatively, to me, seemed pretty positive. Because when that... okay, so if this rumor is that Jair Alexander decided to take it upon himself to shadow Jefferson around the entire
All the
field,
way last year, yep.
and it worked, then guess what? That's a player making a good decision.
And that's
when
what
your coach made a bad one.
I have a tough time believing that. You know what I mean? That he didn't get
it's just
yelled
a
at the
loose
whole
rumor.
time. That
they
whole
probably-
game, the coach's ego didn't get to him enough that
He probably would have just said, F it. Oh, my bad. He probably just said,
got
screw
some
it.
editing to do.
He probably just said, screw it. We're just going to change the way we're going to call
Yeah.
these plays because that he's doing that. But if that's really the case, then you can't be mad at him for it.
No.
And second of all, when it comes to this whole captain thing,
Yeah.
like, was that a little stupid? Yeah, but I also completely understand the reasoning, especially if you're someone who's already getting fed up with your organization. An
Yeah.
organization that has not been very player friendly in the past.
Agreed.
And when you brought up Aaron Jones you said if he's such a good leader, you said sarcastically, and
Because
then
that's what Tom said,
and
yeah.
then
I
explain
agree.
something that I felt was a pretty good leader thing to do. That's a guy holding your guy's back. That's a pretty good leader.
I think when we initially talked, I thought this. I don't know if I said this though.
Okay.
Is the one thing you do want is a cohesive locker room. You want everybody on the
Whether
same
he's
page.
right
so
or wrong.
And
he's
I don't
on the
know
same
if
page taking his boys back. You know,
But that's
so
the thing. So
I get that
this
part
is,
of it,
and
but
we mentioned
you can't let it happen.
We mentioned this earlier. I think this is one of the downfalls of the Packers not having an actual owner and that it's owners. Because right now, basically, the owner and who's in charge of making suspensions is like Matt LaFleur.
Why can't we fine him? Like find the guy.
Yeah, I
money.
know. For over a coin toss, we are losing a star
This is-
corner
Where-
going
but-
against Justin Jefferson, trying to make the playoffs.
need
and
to
we
win
decide
both to
A
get in.
situation that had no bearing on the outcome of the
It
game.
was the Panthers.
And this is a game
We
where
barely beat the Panthers. Bryce Young looked like a freaking superstar against Joe
He's a
Barry's
superstar.
defense.
And I was gonna say the Vikings have looked like two completely different teams depending on what tunnel it seems they run out of. You know, where
Right.
they could look like a really competitive, good football team, or they could look like
Yeah.
a train wreck.
You know what my
So
biggest fear
you
is?
not having one of your a top 5 corner in the NFL. That's
Oh, you want to hear that rumor?
that's big. You know, like this is something that may cost you
Yeah.
a playoff berth.
Yep.
That is like it's wild to me that this is something that an organization would even do.
Yeah.
Like if the NFL, like I thought the NFL, like when I
No,
first
it was
saw it
Matt
come across,
LaFleur.
I thought it was the
Packers,
NFL.
Matt LaFleur decided.
I thought because he wasn't a listed captain or something like that, like it was like a rule violation and he needed to be suspended or something. This is the most idiotic thing
Yep.
I've ever seen a team
Which is
do
why
to
a
shoot
lot of
themselves in the
Packer
foot.
fans are saying, yep.
But do I respect you, standing up for your beliefs? And if this was a well-known rule beforehand and everybody knew this was the repercussion, then it's on him. But if this is something that you're making up on the fly, wrong time.
Well, so
Wrong
No,
time.
I made it up on the floor.
and again, so a lot of rumors and stuff are coming out due to this situation. Another rumor, which I kind of actually believe, is so Jair Alexander has missed like the last 6 games, which he had a shoulder injury. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's weird because if you're going to be out for 6 games, you should be put on the IR, which the Packers never did. So one of the rumors is Jair has actually been healthy after the first 2 weeks. It only took 2 weeks for the shoulder to heal and just missed the last 4 games and protested Joe Barry because he doesn't agree with Joe Barry's schemes and play calls.
Let's get it. Be the change you want to see in the world.
Little
So
Josh
my
Norman.
biggest fear, this is absolutely my biggest fear, is that we trade or cut Jair Alexander in the offseason, keep Joe Barry, get absolutely torched again next year on defense because, I mean, no offense, but Tommy DeVito,
Agreed.
Bryce Young, Baker Mayfield had a
Bryce Young.
perfect passer rating. Like, these players are winning NFC Players of the Week when they play the Packers defense. So my biggest fear is, we're going to get rid of our best corner. We're going to keep Joe Barry. And then it's all going to happen again next year. And then we're going to fire Joe Barry after next year and go, oh, Jair was right. Maybe we should have kept him. And have to start over on the defense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's my biggest fear because Joe Barry's just...
I'm happy you're taking that stance because, I mean, you got to remember, man, historically, everybody who made change, who became heroes, started out as terrorists. You know what I'm saying? Like the people
for
who
Jahir?
Yeah, like he's trying to make a change, and I mean, I'm gonna be honest, your defense can't get much worse.
Do you know who the defense coordinator was for the 0-16 Lions?
Was it him?
Yep, it was
I like
Joe Barry.
that. How can you
How
get
do you
a
get a
job?
job? Yeah, how do you get hired back after that? Like,
Yeah,
that's public information. Like, you just gotta Google the guy's name, and it'll show you. Yeah, you did that for them. What?
I actually wanted Wade Phillips way back when.
Wade Phillips, OG name, very
yeah,
cool. Give me
but-
Bill Parcells if we're going old school. You
Well-
know, give me the shark. Give me, or no, not shark, the big tuna.
Well, I kind of just figured like, hey, Cowboys are taking Mike McCarthy. We'll take Wade Phillips, even though kind of like
Just a tradesy.
yeah,
Just
but
just
Get back.
tradesies.
instead we get
Wade
Joe
Phillips
Barry.
didn't want to live in Wisconsin
Yeah.
for football season. He said, "Screw that weather. I'm used to playing in a dome."
But yeah, it's just a very interesting situation with the Packers, and I obviously hope that the locker room is united.
Do you think Packers get in with 2 weeks left to go? Final take on the Packers.
Do I?
No.
Packers get in 2 weeks left. Do you think they're in after
I
the?
hope
after
they get
this?
in, but they won't get in.
Gotcha. So do you think you? Because last week I believe you were still in on that. You think that they were gonna get in, and then
Did you see what they just
Yeah,
did
they-
against
no,
the
I agree.
Panthers?
I agree. It wasn't pretty.
No,
You did what you had to do, but it wasn't
and-
pretty.
And I would just like to say, I mean,
But that's all
early
you gotta do
on
sometimes.
in the season, I
Fit fits
texted
and
you
chips.
guys this. I said, how can we have like the best defense in the NFL for the first half, but the worst offense?
Yeah, it's kind of flip flopped a
And
little bit.
no, it's
there,
not
yeah.
even flip flop. Now it's just the worst defense throughout the whole game, and the actual offense has actually improved.
Yeah, and like there wasn't any like major injuries that I'm
No,
aware of.
and
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
been-
thing. We're a young
it's been
team,
puzzling.
so kind of going back to the Frank Wright, where you're like, oh, they fired because we want to see improvement. Well, look at that. The Packers' offense is improving, and yet our defense is getting worse, and yet that person isn't getting fired.
Well, it's, I feel like mid-season firings are
Really, because the Eagles just did it, and they're the like 1 seed of the NFC.
I know, and that's so surprising to
Bills
me.
did it too.
Their
Yeah.
defenses look terrible though, recent as of late. It's
Actually, that I think was
was
offensive
offense, but
coordinator,
yeah,
but
got-
still,
still
I
got
see
rid of
what
the
you're
coach.
saying. Yeah.
Well,
it's so
you know,
surprising.
speaking of young teams, Joe,
Yes.
we almost watch a young team who is very, very, very bad
Yes.
beat the best team in the NBA last
Guys,
night.
I'm just getting grilled right now, viewers.
Alas, we didn't.
Well, I think we all said that they were gonna break this record, that they were gonna lose more than both the
I
teams
think they're going
combined.
to.
And
Yeah.
and if you would have told me that, like, if in a different world
'Cause, yeah, they
the
got
results
one
were
more.
different, if one call goes differently last night, you may have a different result here.
No,
And
I don't
against
think
the
so.
Celtics,
Celtics versus Detroit Pistons is
it
what they're
was
talking
a
about.
crazy. Well, they should be watching from last week and know what we're talking about.
It was a really good game. I didn't start watching until it got good, in my opinion, which was great timing.
I didn't watch.
I was following the game,
I saw highlights.
and the Pistons got up about, I think it was like 14-15, about halfway through the third,
They
and
were
I was
up
like,
21
wow.
at one point.
That might have been what it was, but I was like, wow, this is
This is
jarring.
gonna happen.
So let me toss it on because it's
your fault.
it interests me because last night's game was a big representation of how the NBA is nowadays.
Yep.
Even the worst team in the league can beat the best team in the league on any given night. And that's what I thought was going to happen. I was like, wow, first of all, I expect the Pistons, and I did expect the Pistons to set the record, and I still do. They have to lose one more. But I didn't expect it to be against the Celtics. The Celtics have been playing really good.
Yep.
And they had a really good run, and Cade Cunningham was playing fantastic. He had 21 in the first half. I was like, this guy's lightened up. Let's throw in the game, see how it is. And then they crumbled. And the Celtics showed why they're right now one of the best teams in the league. No single in the fourth quarter. So to relay how it happened, in the third, the Celtics started coming back, and it wasn't just Jason Tatum or it wasn't just Porzingis. It was the entire team.
Yep.
Tatum started out real hot to kind of get the comeback started, but then he kind of took a back seat after a while, not in a negative way. He didn't start playing bad. It's just Derek White started playing really well all of a sudden. I think it was Jason Tatum put up 6 straight points, and then Derek White put up 6 points, and then all of a sudden Porzingis couldn't miss from three-pointer. And by that time, they fought their way back into it in what I thought was going to be a moment where the Celtics just like took over. It was like a full reset, and it was a juggernaut of a fourth quarter. The Celtics took their first lead like a minute into the fourth, and then it went back and forth for the entirety. of regulation, and then went to overtime, and the Celtics obviously were able to take it, and the streak continues. But a big reason why I wanted to talk about it today was that was one of the most exciting games I've ever watched. It started off as a blowout, and then kind of got even, and then it just became an absolute slugfest.
Yep,
it was literally Celtics going down scoring, Pistons going down scoring, and vice versa for the entire fourth. It was a great game.
Yeah, full disclosure, I wasn't watching, but I was actually sitting on my couch with my family watching Mission Impossible. Also, I get a text message from Mikey over here saying, "Are you watching this?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" And he's like, aren't you watching the Celtics game? I was like, in my head, I'm like, "No, I'm not watching the Celtics. They played Detroit. They should slaughter them." He's like, "Dude, it's close." So I was like, "Fine, I'll put it on my phone," and I just started watching it. So I got to watch the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter and then all of the overtime.
And we should talk about the goaltending.
Yeah, that's what I was going to bring up here. And that I think is a big talking point to me, because this ended up being counted as a goaltending. And
right,
watching the replay, because I didn't watch the game
Let's
live.
run through the situation first, just in case.
You go through the full situation, because I won't know the players fully by name.
It was on.
Yeah, Cade made the block.
With what was it, 3 seconds left, 4 seconds? It was 4, because you remember you texted me, you said still four left. So Cade comes down with 4 seconds left and goes to put it in, and I think it was, let's see here.
Internet's a beautiful thing.
Okay, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, I got the situation mixed up.
It was earlier.
So Jason Tatum
to tie the game
was right around mid-range. Cade was on him, hit a nice little spin on him, laid it up. And as it was going
6
up,
seconds.
Oh, that's right.
As it was going up, Cade Cunningham runs up, smacks it off the backboard, and it went as a goaltending. Come down to the replay, it was really close.
I didn't think he got backboard on it. I thought it was just a block it was at the peak. That is what, looking back at the replay, looking at it live, I thought it was a good call. Looking at the replay, I thought he got it at the peak. I don't think the ball. I
think it was right.
I don't think the ball
moment.
moved down, but I don't think it was moving up anymore.
Yeah.
But did it hit the back?
I think he got it right at the peak, right when it hit the backboard. I think it was the exact moment.
Like all three things, kind of happened at once.
Exactly.
Tie goes to the offense.
So they replayed it and they looked it over, and my knee-jerk reaction right when the play happened was I didn't think it should be a goaltending simply because of the fact in the rules, if it doesn't have a shot, it has to have a chance of going in the basket. I think if you watch the replay, the trajectory where the ball hit its peak, where it looked like it was starting to come down, I didn't think it had a chance of going in. I really didn't. I thought it was going to hit short side rim, and I texted you. I said, I don't think this should be a goaltending because that shot looked like it was going to be a wedge, which it looked like it was going to hit right in that corner.
But it's tough to say that because if it truly hit the backboard first and then
I don't think it
blocked.
But say in a hypothetical world, say this doesn't go down as a goaltend. Say they review it and, he gets it 0.2 of a second earlier where it hasn't touched the backboard and it is still on the way up and it's clear as day and they reverse the call. The Pistons probably still run the same play set that what sent it into overtime, So that would have been a game winner. And you need a bucket either way. Either way, you need a bucket. So that's why I don't think your play call is getting changed. The situation's not changing because they're reviewing it.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't make, you got a chance to end the streak, and the streak potential. I mean, the
losing streak.
The pressure is different. Where there's not a whole ton of pressure on you after the bucket's gone in to tie up the game. Where if you're playing to lose the streak, shooting to lose the streak, there's probably a little more pressure, but. Other than that, it's the same situation.
Once they went over the replay and gave their reasoning, which before we started recording, I said, this is what the NFL needs to do. The NBA always explains the reasoning for the calls. They explained it, and I texted Joe. I said, I understand the call. Didn't agree with it, but I understood it. It made sense. The reasoning was, all right, we're good to go.
This is what they were seeing.
Yeah, and it was logical. And they said, this is when it happened. Not enough evidence to overturn it.
Call stands.
Yeah, call stands. Understandable.
Not confirmed. Stands.
I also don't think that. I see where you're going with this call could have changed the outcome of the game.
Because they did score that bucket with the 6 or 4 seconds or whatever
With the 4
whatever it
seconds
was
left,
left. So they did score that basket.
With that being said, although I do agree this one play directly impacted the outcome of the game, I think there were a plethora of plays with how back and forth it was going. There were a plethora of plays that if one thing different could have happened. There was like 30 different plays that fourth quarter where if one went in or one missed, it would have completely changed the outcome of the game.
I think
were up
overtime's a
6
fitting play.
with like a minute 12 left, and I'm like, oh, we got this in the bag, and it's like, oh, no, we don't.
Overtime very fitting for this because you can't say that play determined the outcome of the game because like if they say the Pistons would have missed the shot, that play then direct. Well, if the Pistons missed a shot, the Celtics win in regulation.
I thought you were saying if they didn't do the goaltending.
No, I'm saying they missed the shot and the goaltending was called. Then the goaltending is the reason that the Pistons didn't win the game. You know, like it's the direct. We're sending you to overtime. You had another shot. You had
Mono
5 minutes. Is that what they played?
Yep, 5 minutes.
And there was a play
They should give them more if they're going to play longer time than college. They shouldn't do the same.
5.
But they shouldn't do the same overtime.
Two plays before that goaltending, there was a situation where Kristaps, in the middle of his little heat streak, took a wide open 3-pointer to where if they made it, it would have put them up by 3. But then instead he missed, and then the Pistons scored really fast and ended up tying it. And then also if Cade made that 3-pointer where the Pistons had a putback real quick.
Yeah, at the
if
end
he
there.
made that 3-pointer, they would have won. So, but I do agree. I think overtime was the most fitting end because it was such a chaotic fourth quarter where it was like, okay, we just had an absolute. We met in the ring and had an absolute blowout for the last round of the fight, and still nobody could decide a winner, so let's do another round real quick. It's pretty much how it went, and I felt it was fitting. It was a great game nonetheless, though. One of the most exciting non-playoff games I've ever watched in an era where I think fans' biggest complaints are that regular season games don't matter. Right. It was nice to have. It was nice to kind of have a
Definitely
little break in the mundaneness. Yeah. And that's I wanted to talk about that too. You could tell this is a team that
they played really hard.
Does not want to be the worst team in NBA history. Like
most teams don't.
Right. But you could tell they really that
Cavs team, they did not look like this on the court. I agree with you.
And that Sixers team too. The Sixers team didn't look like they cared that
I
they
don't
were
remember
losing.
the Sixers team as well. Was that Tobias Harris or was that
No, that was when they first got Embiid and the whole trust the process thing started. They had
like no one.
I think it was the year it was Embiid's rookie year, but he got hurt. I think it was the year where they set the record, if I remember correctly. They had like 4 of the last 6 first number 1 overall picks, that all of them ended up being terrible. Like it was really a bad situation they were in.
Well, they kept drafting injured players.
Yeah, that too. A lot of injury prone players. But yeah, it was really fun watching the Pistons. The Pistons kind of remind me of kind of what the Rockets are doing this year, where last year the Rockets were, without a doubt, the worst team in the league.
Yeah.
This year they're still so far middle of the pack, especially record-wise, but they're so much better than they were last year.
Well, but is that the players or is it the coach? Because they brought in a new coach.
I think it's both. I think last year they were really young, like this Pistons team is. I mean, Cade is the leader. And
he looks great.
Really, he looks good. His second half, I think he got really gassed. He played almost the entire game the night before, so I think he kind of gassed out. Which is, I mean, when you're the only guy doing most of the work on your team, it's kind of hard not to get gassed especially on a back-to-back when you play the entire game.
Tatum's so gassed that he's out tonight.
Why is Jaylen Brown out? I haven't been following. I said that I haven't been following a lot of the Celtics.
Injury.
I want to.
Good to know. Noted.
Well, no, because that's the thing.
Now you know.
I thought he was filing his taxes, so
because Kristaps Porzingis is out tonight due to rehab. So they're basically trying to.
That was a
alcohol.
Battle. That was a battle last night. I'm okay with taking a break if I'm the coach.
Were you early on? You said
the Pistons were like, why did you do this the night before?
About Kristaps
Porzingis has not impressed me any more than he should have, because here's why. Yes, you showed up when your team needed you, but guess what? You showed up against the worst team in history.
But it's not just this team. He's been having a great
No, you're totally right, but one of my biggest flaks against him is he has never done anything in the playoffs.
True.
So if he can show me. And
he's the third option.
And I almost texted you this last night, too, because I knew you at one point you'd ask about it because I was very anti-Kristaps. I will say, not as headstrong on anti-Kristaps as I was because he's so far been proving me wrong. But you need to consistently prove me wrong. And I think if he can go out in the playoffs and even be the best number 3 in the playoffs,
Which I think he can
or
do.
a quality number 2, then yeah, I will totally eat my words and I'll say he did what he had to do, because the reason I don't feel bad about my opinion about him so far is because he's consistently proven me right. Now he might prove me wrong. So until he does, I'm not swaying.
Because I saw a stat
Okay,
today.
And you want to know something? I'm happy you said that because I feel the exact same way about Brock Purdy.
Well, will this impress you? I saw a stat today. Kristaps Porzingis is actually right at this moment, most efficient 20-point scorer in NBA history for a regular season at this moment.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, he's
scoring. I mean, for the first quarter of the year, that's impressive.
I think I want to make sure I get the stat right. He averages over 20 points on like 13 attempts. The next closest person to ever average 20 points on like that around amount,
more or less,
was like 15 and a half, and it was Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I mean, he's
playing really efficient, and his defense obviously can't teach size. He just 7'4" and just sits there and makes great plays. And if he can
consistently stroke threes like he was last night, especially in pressure time, like I will say, Pistons worst team in the league. But when the pressure's on, the pressure's on. When you're wide open, you still got to make them. And last night he was, so I'll give him credit there. But if he can play like this first half or first quarter of the year, or third, I should say. Yeah, about third. Yeah. First third of the year, if he can do that for the whole year, and then
I think they just need to keep him healthy.
If they can, and then that's also been a lot of his Achilles heel, no pun intended.
Do you like Jaylen Brown even more though? Because he didn't play last night. Do you think this game would have been a little bit less close if Jaylen Brown played?
I mean, it should be, but I also don't think this game should have been close at all last night.
True.
So. But I mean,
especially when like the Utah Jazz isn't even fielding a team.
Yeah. When the Jazz can swat them up a little bit with barely having enough guys to even make a team, then yeah, the Celtics should not. They should never have a close game with the Pistons. But like I said earlier, the Pistons may be the worst in history record wise, but they're the worst of this year. They're still better than a lot of teams throughout history. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I'm not saying they're going to compete with the best teams from eras. No, certainly not. But 10 years ago, there's probably maybe 1 or 2, 3 teams that were worse. 20 years ago, there's probably 5 or 6 teams. You know what I mean? Because it's just the game's better. So I'm not going to say, like, this is the worst team ever assembled, because it's clearly not. But right now, they are, without a doubt,
statistically, yeah,
against their competition, the worst team in history.
But yeah, I'm just very impressed with Kristaps Porzingis. I'm very impressed with Derek White. You were texting me about Derek White.
Great.
Oh my gosh, love it.
Ugly.
Tom's favorite
Ugly guy, though.
Tom's favorite player, Al Horford, played again. He's just a plug and play.
Yep.
If someone's injured, it's like, okay, Al, you're gonna be in the lineup, because he really is kind of like
Al's
our
that
sixth
dude.
man.
Yeah,
Al's that dude.
He played the 5 last night.
Yeah,
Al's that dude.
It's just great. Really looking forward to, again, hopefully
Jimmy
everyone.
Butler, but he's that dude.
Hopefully everyone stays healthy, and we have. I mean, it's just a grind. You got 2/3 of the season left. Just hope everyone stays healthy and the Celtics do great in the playoffs. That's all.
It hasn't been that bad of a year so far in the NBA.
No.
Some teams are doing a little bit better than expected. Some teams are doing how expected. The Lakers aren't doing as good as expected.
Suns aren't doing as good as people
Suns
expected.
aren't. But Bradley Beal's going to make his debut tonight
Ooh.
with the big 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think all 3 of them. I think they might have. No, it's his debut, so they haven't.
Scoot Henderson's looked worse than I thought he would.
But he also said he's still going to.
Rookie of the year.
I thought it was a good comment, you know. Fair enough.
He also said he was quoted saying the Rookie of the Year is still wide open, and I want to make it mine. I'm gonna be honest, dog. You ain't even 3 on the list right now.
Who's number 1? It's got to be who I'm thinking, right?
I'd say I don't know Wemby, but
no, it's got to be Chet.
I was gonna say I think Chet is my favorite rookie right now, but I mean I think the hype behind Wemby enough, as long as he can stay at this same level that he's playing right now, I think he'll probably win it.
Thunder could make the playoffs though.
Thunder are
San
very.
Antonio is not making the playoffs.
Is Giddey gonna play the whole year?
Oh, that
is Giddey gonna play the whole year? I mean,
dude, that stuff died down real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, I still see some memes on TikTok.
If he plays all year, then yeah, they'll probably make the playoffs. I don't know if he will though, but
I think there's a bet out there you can get on it. That's probably a good place to end off our sports wrap up of the day. But we do have to get to our would you rather
Ooh, yes.
of the day, and I do think it is a good one here because I think we talked about it a little before. We make sure we're all agreeing that it's a decent topic. We don't want everybody to agreed. Decent. But our that was weak, Todd. Our would you rather of the day. I wanted to get away from the player comparisons. I think we've done that in back-to-back weeks, trying to say would you rather have this guy or this guy. You know, so I want to say, would you rather be a season ticket holder, and these are prime seats, so you get to choose your seat, not in the suites, but one of the seats.
Yep.
Would you rather be a season ticket holder?
sweet.
At your favorite MLB baseball team?
Okay.
Or would you rather have your season ticket holder for your favorite NFL football team? And you have no scheduling conflicts, travel's not an issue, you know, you get to go to both games, like that, all that out of the equation. Would you rather, go to a full season, full slate of home games for a baseball team or a full slate of home games for a football team?
I hate when you add little sprinkle of extra conditions because honestly, I was hoping you would say work and travel was a pain because I feel like if that was the case,
actually you're available to go to all the games. That's what I'll say. You don't have to go to all the games. You're available to go to all the games. That's how we'll phrase it.
I would probably take the baseball simply because there's a lot more games. The NFL is only 17 games, and obviously half those games
got prime seats.
You're playing on the road, so you're only getting 8 games. Maybe 9, depending on how the schedule works, versus the MLB. There's 162 games, right?
And just think about playoffs.
So you get 80?
182.
Playoffs, too. Baseball, you're getting more playoff game, more of that. So that's where...
And I can sell those tickets?
I'm okay, I'm happy you said that because I was just about to...
So monetarily, I think you're on the right track there.
I was just about
if you're
to
looking
get into
to
that because
dole out per ticket.
At first, I was very on the why the F would I ever want MLB season tickets?
Because there's 80
I'm
games.
not even going to want to watch 10 games.
Yeah, no, and that's
I
why
could
it's not
live
good for
across
you.
the street from the MLB, from a stadium, and I wouldn't even want to watch.
Okay.
I probably would. But you know what I mean. But you said that when we were talking about this before we recorded, you mentioned that the very last second before we stopped talking about it, and I was like, good point. Because 182 games, I could afford 3 different NFL season tickets in 1 year just by selling all those games alone.
Or even just selling half of them.
And we're talking prime tickets, if you're a Red Sox fan, so
prime tickets behind
home seat, behind home plate. You're talking about a pretty penny, especially for a lot of the big matchup games, And then,
I'm
both teams
picking
either one makes
Dodgers
the playoffs.
just simply because of how much those tickets
But
alone
that's not
are
your
gonna
favorite
sell for.
team.
That's fair. And that's where
No, he said any. He didn't say favorite.
I think I did say I said favorite at one point. But so looking at it,
then
if
fine.
I was to add in, you can't sell the tickets.
Oh, then that changes. Yeah, then I wouldn't.
Is the
NBA
more
or MLB.
opportunity to go to more sporting events throughout the course of a year?
If I can't
worth
sell
it to only have the 8 opportunities to be at the 8 home games that you're going to get for an NFL team.
I'm going to go with the NFL simply because I know that's either Sundays or Mondays. Obviously, the MLB, some games are at 2 o'clock, and like you said, if I can't sell them, again, I got a job. It might be tough.
No, he's saying.
I'm saying you're going to make it. Even with that, you're going to make it 2 more. Say there's no scheduling conflicts.
In a perfect world, you could make every game.
You could make every game if you wanted to. You don't have. That's a lot of baseball. You know what I mean?
Next day, that's not really.
And the next day, and the next day.
Exactly.
No,
that's whenever you wanted to go.
World, you can watch every game.
If you wanted to go, you could go. There's nothing holding you back. You're not forced to go. We're not handcuffing you to go.
Say you were. Yeah, you own your own business while we're at it, Joe, and you pick your schedule.
Yeah.
If we're throwing that in.
Wow.
Yeah. So would you? So at that point, would you rather be able to say, "Oh, hey, I'm gonna have Sundays. I'll be able to take the Thursday night game off if we have a Thursday night home game," which you're looking at a Thursday night home game or a Monday night home game. That's the real time your work schedule is ever going to conflict with
I know. That's why I was kind of
with
saying
football.
Football
But
would
that's
be
what we're
easier
saying. So take
baseball.
work schedule out of it as well.
Oh,
you're saying I am the one that throws the
If
nitty-gritty details in there.
If you
Well, you keep throwing
That's true.
you can't sell them.
if you gave me
That's
right
true.
now,
I feel like it's the way you got to have a conversation with it.
if right now somebody walked into this room with 3 briefcases, put them all in front of me, and opened them, and then the one on the left was 85 Red Sox right behind home plate, front row tickets, and then in the middle one was like 52 Warriors tickets, and
That's
then on
fair.
the way to the right was
Steelers.
8 Steeler tickets. I would kindly be like, "Hey man, don't waste my time," and I
we
would
throw
hand him the
Premier
Red
League in
Sox
there
one
for
back.
you as well. Like,
And
where does
then-
Premier League soccer rank on this? Like, because I want you to go in order how you shut them too. So, kind of, who's your Premier League team?
We're going to
I'm
this.
going
Okay,
deep.
Let's
so
do it.
say we
Let's
got
just list off your favorite teams, and that's the situation. You can go to every game. You're not obligated to go to every game.
so
you
let's
can't
say
sell
we
'em.
got
That's the one where you
Red
can't sell 'em.
Sox, Chelsea Soccer Club.
Okay.
We had Boston Bruins, Warriors,
Oh wow, you're going deep.
Steelers. We need a bigger table. One
Yeah, I was
second.
gonna
Let me
say,
slide
yeah.
these down a little bit.
SU college
Kentucky
basketball.
Derby, might as well. If we're throwing it in there, don't know anything about horse racing.
I don't think you have a
Or
team for that.
to go fair. We'll get rid of Kentucky Derby.
Well, maybe he's got a favorite
Or
horse.
go to 5 PGA Masters in a year. Okay,
Ooh.
I'd probably pick that one. That's a better.
Oh.
That's cool.
Yeah,
That's
I
actually
would
really
pick
cool.
that one.
And you get to go to every day of the Masters. Yeah, that's
yeah,
cool.
I would pick that one. That's wow. That would be incredible.
It's
No,
20
okay, so
days.
I would
Yeah, that's cool.
close
That's cool.
the Red Sox first.
Ooh, okay.
Over the Bruins?
That's right. I thought
No,
hockey was. I thought
yes.
hockey was going first for
Yes, because I have been to baseball games, and I have never been to a Boston Bruins. I've been to
Oh,
Red Sox
okay.
games.
Okay,
Okay.
just
I
for
haven't
the
been to
experience.
Fenway, but I've been to.
I was gonna say. I think just for the entertainment
I was
value.
just about to say that the environment.
You
of
really have
hockey.
to love baseball and be involved in the strategy of what's going on and the situational side of things. I think to
Yeah.
enjoy and actually sit, even just to sit through.
I like them both the
innings of
same, but one
baseball.
of them's giving me an opportunity to watch somebody lose a couple
Worst
teeth.
case scenario, you see a fight and
Yeah.
and some guys hit each other. You know,
Exactly.
people get really loud. It's a
Okay,
fun
okay.
So I
environment.
would
So I
go-
could say that as
Okay,
well.
so Red Sox.
I would
bye-bye.
go Red Sox, then I'd go Bruins, then I'd go. Oh man,
I can't wait to cut this one. I do
I've
have to
seen
start
the
cutting
Warriors,
these, but this is gonna
too,
be a good
so-
one. Yeah, the
More
Warriors
games,
too.
though. More games, though. With the
So now-
Warriors.
that's why I think
Prime
the game
seeding.
I
number-
would chose the.
I feel like you're not putting any stock into game
Are we
number.
doing courtside?
It's prime seeding.
Prime seating at any event.
It's, yeah.
Man, I would close the Steeler one.
Oh, I thought that was gonna be later.
I would.
This is a really good one. I like where
Well,
this
he's
is evolved into.
expanded it. It
Oh,
was
I know, but I
originally
like what
2.
it's evolved into
Yeah.
because this is like I'm getting to know more about my friends here. You know,
I'm peeking back into the Steeler.
not and sweets are unavailable. We said no sweets.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm taking the Warriors and I'm moving them
And
back.
I guess if we're going no sweets, we should probably say no courtside because that's kind of. You have sweets for basketball too.
What if we say not courtside, but behind the hoop?
Okay.
If you think that's comparable, then that's fair.
Yeah, I
I'm
would
not-
say
I'm not a-
baseline, not courtside.
Okay, that's fair.
That'd be like
that's
sitting
fair.
behind the end zone
I
and
was like,
sitting right on the
courtside's just
50.
courtside. I feel like it's
That's just
really,
prime
really,
time
yeah,
for
yeah.
any sport.
Yeah. Baseline.
Um,
That's fair. Baseline.
We'll go
seats.
baseline. So we'll have that be a baseline. So I'll move the Warriors back, still on the table. It's open, wide open, really open. That's why we're going back. We're not going to the sides. We're not closing. Oh man. So I got the Steelers. I got Chelsea. So my reasoning here is
Can't
I
sell 'em.
love the Steelers. Love going to Steeler games. My favorite in-person sporting events ever are the Steelers. But I've never been to the Chelsea. I've never watched Chelsea. I've never been to England. I've never been to the stadium. I've never watched a European soccer game in that environment, which is one of the most exciting environments of any sport. Whether you like soccer or not, they get crazy over riots, dog.
That's what I'd be
Riots.
scared. Like I
Yeah.
would. Like I don't know
So-
anything about soccer. I'd probably wear the wrong thing and get jumped. Like,
Okay,
yeah.
I have a question,
Uh-oh.
and this will decide. Is this season tickets for the rest of my life or this year?
This year, 1 year, 1 year
All right,
only.
so I'm smacking that Steeler case down because I will go to more games. I've been to games. I'm going to
Oh, it's for this year?
This
I'm
1 year,
closing-
just 1 year.
closing the Warriors. We're going with Chelsea.
Say next
Chelsea
year.
season
Next
tickets.
year?
Yeah, just say next year. We'll say that.
No, close that. We're opening the Warriors back up. Give me baseline. I want to see Steph
No, we're
play
getting
one of
really
his last
specific
years.
now.
I want to see Steph.
There's too many rules. I'm confused.
And yeah, we're going Warriors because although
Mikey needed a year to make a decision.
Although I've seen the Warriors play, I've actually never seen Steph and Clay play because they both rested on when I watched the Warriors play in Minnesota. So I'll do Warriors. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
So if it was,
This is my
it
signing
would
day.
change if it was after Clay, Like if Clay was like
Oh,
already
absolutely.
retired.
Clay and Steph, if they were retired, yeah, I wouldn't.
Or yeah, I was thinking Steph
Because
instead
I
of Clay.
not only got to see the, I guess, remnants of
That's fair.
one of the
There's
got
gotta
to
be a draw to go.
Okay, I
Yeah.
got all
Joe's
this.
turn.
I got all right. So
How many teams we got?
two-
Lay them out
no,
on the
no,
table.
I'm gonna answer two
And
questions.
can you face the camera? Because I need your table to be pointed
I'm
towards
Let
the
me
camera.
interject real quick.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming today. I know you all have been really busy, but it's really important for the future of his career. It's Joe's signing day. He has a lot of options available today, so please be patient. Hold all questions to the end.
I actually did that for college. I laid out all the.
And now you're doing it for
Yeah.
Talkin Athletics.
So I'm gonna answer
It's
the first
experience.
original question of.
You can even pick them up if you want to remember the spots. Too.
Yeah, true.
You know, 'cause
So
I'll
to
try to
answer
edit
the
it if I
first
can.
original question, I can't sell them. I'm gonna original question: football versus MLB. I would go with the Green Bay Packers to answer the first question, simply because.
And you're a big Yankees fan as well.
Yeah, I'm a big Yankee fan, but I feel like after I watched like 30 of them, I kind of would just be like, okay, I've
You've
gone
never
to
been to Lambeau, right?
and I've never been to
Yeah.
Lambeau
Oh wow, that I thought you had been to Lambeau.
And
at
they're
some
your
point.
favorite team, yeah.
of all the sports teams. So to answer the original question, Green Bay Packers, because after the Yankees, if I saw 30 games and I can't sell them, I just probably on my own be like, okay, until it gets to October.
I think.
I'm
And
not
let's be
gonna
honest,
go.
I
who
think
wants
you'd
to
be good
watch
at
the
picking and
Yankees?
choosing.
They just underperform all
I know,
the
and it
time.
really.
I think if you had season tickets, you could pick and choose pitching matchups that you'd want to go
Fair.
see, where it's going to be like Garrett Cole versus
Yeah, and
another
you're gonna
ace.
get
You know what I
see a
mean?
lot of MLB players.
You're
that
not
you
going to
haven't
waste your
seen.
time going to 30 straight games.
Yeah.
I think you're smart enough that you'd
I
plan
know,
it out
but
like that.
obviously,
But
then
Packers.
you're cutting
I know, it's still the
games, which
Packers.
gets me closer to the amount of games I'd be seeing for
Agreed.
the Packers, and that's my
Agreed.
favorite team. So
True.
to answer that original question, I'm going with the Packers. Now, because one of those lovely rules that you just said was either this year or next year, like the current.
You can pick the year. I'll let you pick the year.
Pick the year.
I didn't know we were going
Pick
down
the
this
year?
this pack.
Oh,
Wait, are we
okay.
going back in
2005 Steelers then.
Well, no, I'm not going back in time. Future-
2010 Green Bay
So that's why
Packers.
I asked you with Stephen Clay and then without Stephen
Yeah,
Clay,
that's
because
fair.
that was when the year
Yeah, do
conversation
you want to
came
see
up.
this Packers team?
That's
I know,
fair.
That's why also
That's
you
fair.
would know my answer then, because you would then pick who your
Well, you know
best
what?
favorite team
If
is.
I was you, I'd still go with the Packers because although the Packers aren't very good, and yes, the Yankees have a
Maybe
lot
we'll
of.
part two this for next week, and we'll allow you to
Well,
do
I was gonna
the
do
favorite
all the
the
teams
favorite
like you
years.
just
Okay,
did.
yeah, sorry, go.
Because to answer the first question, obviously, like I said, Green Bay Packers.
We're good.
That's kind of easy now. But then, if you're having me lay out all of them, so here we go. We got all my favorite teams.
Yep, lay them out.
Okay, so I'll go right in order. Favorite team is the Green Bay Packers, followed by the Celtics, followed by the Yankees, followed by like SU basketball college.
I didn't even think about them.
I was gonna say you're not a college fan, so we didn't throw college into your big board.
Plus, like, I
That's
mean,
right. It's going into mine, so I'm glad you brought it into
there we
yours.
go. Great minds think alike.
plus I cover the teams, so it's like,
Yeah.
it's
That's right.
not the
It makes
same.
up for his soccer and
Soccer, yeah.
yeah. That guy won't have one of those to throw on my
we
board.
could have the Syracuse Mets.
Okay.
I don't know if they sell
Do you-
tickets.
would
They
you-
sell
You
season
could. You don't
tickets.
even have to worry about putting. You could
Back to your briefcases.
pay $500,
Joe.
Joe.
briefcases.
Back to your briefcases.
Oh, I'm trying to think of other sports I watch.
You're good. You don't have to just. It should just be the ones at the top of your head. Mikey
okay,
I know
alright.
he is the abstract sports where thought it was weird that he went hockey just because.
Oh, the Syracuse Crunch.
Hockey's
that'd
fun
be
to
cool.
watch.
That's
in
fair, but that's
person.
where like I wouldn't have called you a Bruins fan. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't
So
name
that's
anybody
that's
on
where
the
I wouldn't have
team.
called you a Bruin. That's where I'm not saying you needed to list everything. So I would just fandom because it should be hard decision, like harder
Yeah,
decisions.
so because he was so dramatic, so I'm gonna add all of these. So first one I would close is the Syracuse Mets. I would close the Syracuse Mets.
Fair.
Then I would close the Syracuse Crunch. Then I would close.
They're having a good year.
Wouldn't know.
They are. They really are.
Syracuse basketball. Although, are we including March Madness?
No, just home season tickets. So whatever you would get included in.
But you
season
gotta think
tickets.
about why would you want
You're not going to
season
every game,
tickets
just home
for
games.
that over another sport when you can
No.
realistically pay. You have
Let
enough
the man
money
go. I
where
got
you
your
can
back
get
in this one.
season tickets in another sport and still go to a lot of
we
Q's
can't
games.
sell. We can't sell. the
No,
tickets
no. I
now.
mean, you as a you say you kept your job now, you could win season tickets to a ton of other sports and then still financially be able to go to at least half of Q's home games. You know what I'm saying? So why would you even consider them in the
I was
running?
just asking a question about March Madness because March Madness
Which is
environment
fair.
is
fair. That's
insane.
fair. That's a fair question.
So, okay, closing the Syracuse College basketball. So what do I got left? Just basically the original three.
Yeah, you're back to your 3. So you've got
Wait, what's your third?
Yankees.
What's your
Yankees, Packers, and
Celtics.
So yeah, it's probably Celtics probably jumped to 1 for you, and then you stay the same order.
Garden though. Plus the Celtics are really good.
Yeah, that's what we're saying. The Celtics jumped to 1.
So
for
yeah,
him.
I would shut the Yankees because I can't sell the tickets, and then because you're saying you get to pick the year of the future, and obviously the Celtics are good this year and probably will be good next year. And the Packers are kind of rebuilding. I would unfortunately shut the Packers and go with the
but
Celtics.
It's hard.
You wanted
Because it's a championship.
It's a tough close.
If everybody was going to win a championship that
Oh my
year,
gosh!
you knew
Oh
it,
my
then
god!
you're
Yeah,
going Packers. I
oh
got
my
you.
god!
yeah.
It would be the Green Bay
got
Packers
you.
a billion times over. Are you kidding me? If it was guaranteed, like, hey,
need
they're
more
they're
pop.
they're gonna go like 12-5 and win the Super Bowl, and you get to see all the playoff. Oh my god!
Yeah, that would be cool.
Well,
And,
I genuinely think that I learned a little bit about you guys just in the order of which you shut your briefcases. You know, like
Yeah.
I genuinely think that because I would have guessed probably different orders for you both, and you
I'm
just
glad
tossing
we
out Bruins. You know what I
lowered
mean?
out all the-
Yeah.
I'm glad I got you your Mets, the Crunch.
Yeah. What's
and-
yours?
For my table.
Yeah. We'll do the original first.
Yeah, the original,
my,
like me.
My original
Baseball
one.
or football?
I think I
wouldn't want season tickets.
I think
for the
I'm going
Giants
baseball.
ever.
I
But
think
you can't sell them.
I know, but I think I would
Giants though.
get more enjoyment.
Giants or Yankees?
Well, like when you're watching
That's
when
good
you're
point.
watching baseball, how are you watching it? Like in between pitches, what are you thinking about?
What are you talking about? I'm old school.
When I watch
listen
baseball.
to it on the radio like those American heroes in the 50s.
Okay, like but,
Sitting on a boat drinking.
So-
And
listening
where
to
are
the
you,
game.
Joe?
but that's
Just
where,
told you, sitting on a boat drinking.
Oh, okay.
listening
so
to
when I'm
them.
watching a game,
That's
9
fair,
times out of
though.
10, I'm usually there with somebody who I played college ball with, or somebody. If you're going to a baseball game, 9 times out of 10, you
Are
really
you gonna
like
have
baseball.
season tickets with you? Can we
No.
bring a friend.
Yeah. Is it one ticket or two? I mean, that
is
doesn't
that
change.
changing anything?
No.
Is that changing anything?
I mean, it might change. I mean, well.
No.
Your big reason.
Solo dolo.
But your big reason is like when you're watching a game with somebody to talk
somebody.
to.
No, but I was just saying that
'Cause that might change
that's
it.
the only time that I vocalize it. But even when I'm just watching a game, like in between pitches as a pitcher, I'm thinking, okay, it's a 2-1 count here. You got runners on first and second. This guy's slider's been crap all day. What are you What am I gonna throw him here? Like getting real.
So you're more interactive.
Exactly.
with
So that's right. I'm going super in depth into the nitty gritty of the
where Mikey
baseball.
and I are
where
just sitting there going like, okay, he just threw a
Sitting
fastball,
there.
maybe off speed.
You
low
guys
and
keep
away.
saying
No.
these words that I don't associate with baseball. Earlier he said when you watch. Now you say when you sit there. Come on, dude.
Joe said radio. No. The only time I listen to baseball on the radio is when I'm driving.
Now
in the
you're
car.
attacking my occupation, brother. Okay, I'm not the guy.
That's fair. but
Yes.
That's what I'm
Because
saying.
we air those Yankee games. Okay?
I'm saying
Thank
any-
you for your viewership.
You're welcome.
TK99.
Absolutely.
It's by far the hardest sport to be a broadcaster for. I don't think
Yeah.
you could. I don't think you could argue that. Like
No,
the
I've-
dead time that you
Maybe
have in
try
I
between.
think I've actually called college
because
games.
it's
tough.
the sport is so dry.
It's tough.
You know, like it you've got 30 seconds maybe of action, and that's a long. Like that's
Here's
something
the
to
wind
gap.
up.
You know what I
He's
mean?
Stretching, throws the ball,
And
and it's a
then
strike.
the pitch clocks helped, but like you've got 30 seconds to kill in between every pitch as an announcer. What are you going to talk about that?
Well,
Geico, 15 minutes or more could save you. 15%.
I get where you guys are coming from, but that's where I think that I'm choosing that just because I want to see Garrett Cole matched up against every ace.
I don't know. This
in
is
every
fun
series.
interrupting you though.
It's funny that you bring that up. Can I interject real quick?
Yeah, no.
The whole trying to think of things to talk about during baseball broadcasts. In one of my speaking classes, they we specifically talked about baseball, and they talked about how difficult it is, and they gave this video example. It was this announcer. I wish I remembered who it was, but
Carey,
what team?
Cubs.
No.
Do you know the team?
Actually, I think it might have been the Yankees. Who's their guy? They've had him forever.
John
Sterling.
It's like it's like he's the only one, and then
But
they
then
get
there's
like a
they
rotating.
have another guy that was the radio broadcaster that was a separate guy, and they had him for forever as well.
I'm talking about television.
Gotcha. Then yeah, Sterling.
Okay, so he during this like delay, like I think
Are
it
you
was
thinking Michael K?
I think it was a pitcher change.
Is Michael K radio or is Michael K TV?
I thought Michael K was the TV and John Sterling.
I think I have them flipped. Yeah, I think John Sterling is radio.
Michael
I was
K
just
old?
thinking about that. No, Michael K is not. So it must have been the guy before Michael K. I can't think of. It was the guy. Number 2, Derek Jeter.
That guy.
I don't remember.
Number 2.
Okay, well,
I don't remember,
Yeah.
but the
Yeah,
guy.
definitely that
That's
guy.
all we
It was
got.
during a pitch change.
It's got to be the guy.
The guy talked maybe 10 minutes about the history of beards because the batter had a very nice beard. But it was a riveting story.
Yankees don't allow
So
facial hair.
sorry, that was kind of off topic, but that's what made me think
Got to
of.
be
But
an opposing player.
having called the college games, it's not easy. It's not an easy thing to do.
So that's where I am in just the football. Just the
'Cause it's
you're
the
only getting
Giants,
you're only
like you
getting
said.
8 home games.
And it's the Giants.
And it's a Giants.
But I
right
mean,
now, Giants.
Daboll showed us we could be good any year. Like we were supposed to be terrible last year.
I don't know if he showed you that you could be good any
won a
year
playoff game
or
last
if you
year.
could be good that
Over
year.
Minnesota. Hold on.
I mean, can you be good any year or could you somehow be good that year? Because that happens to a lot of teams.
You're splitting hairs now, brother. Splitting hairs. Splitting hairs, man. We were there. We were dancing.
You were.
So
Didn't get asked for a
that's why I
second
choose
dance.
baseball. But then if
For
we're
the
adding,
original question.
if we're
yes.
adding everything in,
Oh, God.
my NHL team would be the Detroit Red Wings, and they are
That'd be
on
cool.
a huge climb right now. Where
Yep.
our childhood, I think it was 26 years. They didn't make they made the playoffs straight, 26
yeah.
straight years, and
Yeah,
then
they
we've
were
been
really
on
good.
a drought here. Looks like this year we started off hot. We're gonna hopefully keep getting points and keep making a playoff push. If we get back in it, that would be great. But I think it'd be a great time to be a season ticket holder there. So definitely a
Ooh.
box that intrigues me.
Okay. So it's not shut.
The biggest box that I think
The biggest.
what I think is I think I'm going with just off the bat.
Is it
Thinking
Notre
here
Dame?
through, that would be Notre Dame. Yeah,
That's
that
what
would
I
be,
was gonna
That
say.
would be the Irish home game. But like college football is just such a different atmosphere, and if you got a team that is a national contender every year, where especially with the transfer portal, we got
Yes.
Riley Leonard
Are
coming
they a
in.
national
100
contender or are they
With your schedule,
assumed to be?
With their schedule, if they win out,
Let a
Every
brother
year-
dream.
any year if they go undefeated, they can make the football playoff. And this year, with it being
Fair, yeah.
a 12, I think we're going 12 team, right?
Mhm.
I believe Notre Dame
Thought it was
finished
8
this
and
season.
then
Is it
12.
8? All right, you're right.
Oh,
we
it's
go
8
and then 12.
Yeah, yeah.
You guys do
Once,
this
but
every
once
week.
Notre
Yeah,
Dame,
I know.
once Notre Dame goes 12 team, we lost 3 games this year. Finished the season.
So
10 and
So
3
you're gonna choose like
after
the
today.
year they go to 12. That's because you can
I
pick
would
any
I
year.
would go next year though. Like even
okay.
I mean the year they go to 12 that would be smart, but then season ticket holder like I'm still
Yeah, Tom,
it's
you're not
I'm
smart. It's okay.
but I'm not gonna
That
get
was
to go.
mean.
I'm not gonna get to go to the playoff game, and I genuinely think Riley Leonard from Duke is a very good quarterback coming in next year. We had all the people transferring and the people going pro sitting out today. We beat Oregon State in the bowl game,
Smacked them.
8-40. Notre Dame put up 40 points with the backup QB who will not be our starter next year.
So are you picking? You're picking Notre Dame?
I think Notre Dame is the box that I'm taking at the
That
end
was
of
so
it.
anticlimactic. He
I
didn't,
really-
like, close.
I don't even know
anything.
like Syracuse Orange. I think Syracuse Orange would be the basketball team that
Yep.
would be
Well,
basketball.
the
But I'm
reason
trying
I-
to think of other teams that I like am a big fan of,
the
and those
Mets, the Crunch.
are those are the ones. The Yankees box is tempting, like I said, because I picked that over the Giants even. But if I'm going in order, probably shutting Cuse basketball first, just because
You don't get March Madness.
it's not that meaningful to me to sit on baseline for Cuse, where I could go to a game and it's not going to be crazy expensive to the
Yeah, that's what
the
I'm
checkbook
saying.
even
Like,
to go
you
to
can
even to
still
go to
a
the,
ton
even to
of
go to
Cuse
the big games. Next on my list,
You gotta-
probably the Giants.
Wow.
Probably the Giants box, and then that leaves me with 3. Right, I've got the Wings, Notre Dame, and the Yankees. Right,
Yep.
and so then I think I'm
I dropped the Yankees.
shutting the Yankees,
Yep.
and then I'm shutting
Detroit.
Detroit.
A hard shut though.
Just because hockey's so fun to watch, whereas I did 6 years of college baseball. That's a lot of innings that
And it's
I've
the
I've
Motor
logged,
City,
that I've
man.
sat through, I've watched, and I mean that's what's taken away from Detroit and really why it didn't get pushed up to number 1. South Bend, way safer of an area. Wait, I don't have as much trouble coming in and out. I'm a season ticket holder. I
Wait,
don't
I
have
thought
protection going in and out of the stadium.
I thought these rules were no travel, nothing like inconvenient.
That is true.
Listen, the area is still, I feel like,
Inconvenience?
I still feel what Mikey used to go into the Premier League is a big reason why he kept them open so long.
Yeah,
going
that's
to,
fair.
so the destination itself plays a role.
Whoa, no. I didn't say the destination. I said the atmosphere.
Oh.
Because I was referring to inside
It's still a
stadium.
hockey game. It is still a hockey game, and we're at the game, so that's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. Then either way, I'm still Notre Dame, hands down. Like, I've been a diehard Irish fan. Like, grew up without cable, NBC every week. You got that, and
NBC, the Irish and me.
And then why isn't that their slogan?
I don't know.
Why, like, you need to get on the phone with Peacock immediately
and
tell them to stop streaming, mainstream games on Peacock only. Tell them that first off, and then tell them the slogan, because maybe she get their attention first with the slogan first.
It is grabbing. So, the reason I asked you if Notre Dame is your lock is because when you mentioned Oregon State, it reminded me of it. What was this text earlier about the Pac-12 you're talking about?
Oh wow, we didn't even put that on the rundown.
Yeah,
didn't mention it at all. So this is something that I really hadn't looked into. I was on my lunch break. I took it a little bit later today because Notre Dame played at 2.
Smart. So you
on
are
my
a smart
break,
guy.
it came up though that
I was wondering
the
when you texted
Pac-12
that.
is going to stay a conference right now and they had the breakdown, and I'll be able to find it by the time that I upload. Especially, I won't upload it for the full pod, but for the short that I'm doing for the Would You Rathers.
This was a
Or
long
not Would You Rathers.
Rather.
Yeah, was it? Yeah, I
This
mean,
was
they all get pretty lengthy, to be honest with you. But in the grand scheme of things, they laid out all of the movement, and the Pac-12, nobody's moved into it at this point. It's just the Oregon State, and I can't remember who the other one is. Who's the other one that's staying?
I think Washington.
Huh.
Or Washington State. I'm pretty sure it was one
I
of
think
the
it's Washington
Washingtons and
State.
one of,
I think it's
Oregons.
Washington State.
Pretty sure it was one of each.
But no, so they are going to stay, and the other teams are taking a hefty pay cut. They haven't an undisclosed amount, but it has been said to be big to be able to leave the conference, and that's what all these teams face to be able to opt out of their conferences, is losing the revenue that you get from these TV deals, and that's the main source of revenue from everywhere, across all platforms too. You're not talking just football, you're talking everything.
The part that confuses me about it is, like, most of these conferences have in the contracts to where if they go under a certain amount that they have to disband the conference. So is that just like something the Pac-12 didn't do? Did they come to the NCAA with a progress plan of like, yeah, we're going to start out as 2 next year, but we're talking to 6 teams for the year after, and we think we have 5 for the year after that, and then they have to like set it out, and the NCAA has to like approve it? Like how? That's what I'm curious about.
What they did do was what they did mention on there, and they said that they did mention that this is really, really new information, and I don't think all of the details have been released at this point.
Ironed out, yeah.
They had said that they have aligned with I believe it's the Mountain.
Oh, the Mountain?
The Mountain West
Okay.
Conference. And so they are going to have 6. One of the teams has 6 games scheduled versus Mountain West opponents. The other team, I believe, has 7 games scheduled against Mountain West opponents.
Okay.
They are not in the Mountain West, though. So it's very strange.
It's like 2 Notre Dames joining the ACC.
It's
during COVID.
It's like having a dual independent, where it's like you're not really a conference,
still gonna have
because
a
Notre Dame plays an
championship
ACC schedule.
game?
What?
Are they still going to have a championship game?
And that's where I feel like that's probably some of those details.
Here
that
we
have been
have
left out.
Oregon State taking on
How do you not?
Washington State in the Pac-12 championship. Both teams said it is staggering 1-1 conference play.
It's going to be very
With wins
very
over.
weird.
Fun fact, earlier in the season, Washington State beat Oregon State, and you know what? It was handed. But later in the season, Oregon State made a late push in conference play to secure a position in the conference championship game by taking down Washington State. That'd be wild.
That's where I'm searching Pac-12 2024
2 out of
plans
3.
and not getting.
True. Yeah, that's a good point. I guess so. Yeah. I mean, valid. They prove they're better, I guess, statistically. But I mean, like you said earlier, you don't know a lot. It's new information, not a lot's out on it. So
It was like literally on CBS today at probably like 2:25 is when I saw it in between one of the drives there, and I texted the boys immediately and didn't have time to look too much deeper into it at this point in time.
Next week we'll probably have a lot more to bring to you guys, but for now, that's all we got on the agenda. Thanks for joining us here at Talkin Athletics. As usual, just 3 guys hanging out in a basement. We don't claim to know everything. We don't claim to know more than you, but we often claim to know more than each other. I'm your host, Mike Papa. That's Joe. That's Tom. As always, thanks for joining, and we'll see you next time.